the seagulls follow the shore. It's because they think sardines will be thrown into the sea. Thank you.
And as we say now in my country, they brought the bus and they left the bus in front of the goal.
And the guy's talking absolute nonsense. Never heard so much rubbish in my life.
Normal men.
What do you mean, normal men?
We're just innocent men.
I'm telling you, don't back down, double down. Don't back down, double down.
Yes, here we go, ladies and gentlemen. It is indeed, once again, Friday night. So, of course, you know what that means. Time for a bit of time travelling. And all you sickos out there that have been asking for this one, it's finally here. We're finally going to do it. We're going to put ourselves through this one. It is the 2009-2010 season. Tony Mowbray, yeah, here we go. We're going to be taking it on the chin. So, guys, I hope that you're well reinforced. I mean, I've got a double chin anyway, so I'm quite padded here anyway. So I'm all right. So I'm fine. I should survive. Liam, you've got the beard. That's a good bit of padding as well. You should be all right. Russell, a bit concerned for you here.
I am fucking fucked, let's be honest. If I wasn't bulletproof, the good Lord tells me he can get me out of this mess. But you're fucked.
But yeah, here we go, guys. As you see, we've got the original time traveling team on this one. We're going to brave it. So Russell Boyce has joined us after missing the highly exciting Gordon Strachan final season last week. He didn't miss much, to be fair. It wasn't a great season. But it's
I was just sitting at my desk the whole time. Just going, fuck that.
Nobody cares, mate. Nobody cares, Gordon Strachan.
I'm joking. I was out, mate. I'm not that bad.
No, but welcome back. It's good to see you back on the old Bustalgia. So you look forward to this one tonight, Russell?
Aye, man. Aye, because I think it's like, again, forgotten history with how does the season not turn around, but how does it end with a wee bit of dignity? Neil Lennon,
it does, yeah. Whenever Neil Lennon's around, Russell Boyce will be there. And yes, for Neil Lennon, we hint of Lennon at the end of the season, but we talked about that when we get to it. And Liam, the wise man of the bus, Canada's favourite Tim, is back on again on Bustalgia, where he belongs. Liam, how you doing?
How cool is that shot?
Yeah, very cool.
That's my Bulgarian team, Locomotive.
That's minted.
My Bulgarian team. I hate it. It's never boring with Celtic, is it? See,
no, exactly.
Watching the highlights in it this season and just seeing, like, the football wasn't great, but Jesus Christ, the off the field antics, it was just always something going wrong. Wheels coming up that bus at every single corner. You know? Yep. So just when you thought you're doing great, you're doing bad, and it was upside down and running. Yeah, let's talk about it.
There's definitely substance to this season, something we can get our teeth into, no doubt about it. Plenty of talking points. But before we do all that, of course, I will remind the viewers of all that good stuff. So, of course, if you're brand new to the bus and you've only discovered this, then hit that subscribe button and remember to hit the bell notification so you're reminded when we go live. Of course, hit that like button, helps us in the old algorithm on YouTube, gets us in more people's recommended videos boxes.
I'm taking notes down here, Liam. I'm taking notes down at this.
That little bit down the right-hand side on the YouTube screen about related videos, that gets us in there. So that definitely helps if you hit that old like button. Of course, get involved in the comments, particularly tonight. We're going to be keen to see some memories from this one. I know it's a dark season, but come on, we'll get through it together, folks, and we'll be better at the end of it all. And of course, there is a poll tonight on the comments, and it's a bit of a grim one. I've just asked quite simply, what was the bigger clanger result this season, losing to Ross County in the Cup or the 4-0 to St Mirren? Interested to see what happens there because both results were actually pretty bad. pretty bad. And you can of course share the Bhoycie Bus link on social media. And speaking of social media as well, some of you may have got a notification on Twitter that you're now followed by the Bhoycie Bus's new Twitter account. So there it is there at Bhoycie Bus. Very, very simple to remember. No problem.
I don't even know who these people are, Liam. Some bastard in admin's trolling me online, calling himself the Bhoycie Bus. I've got no idea who it is. I just know I'm getting the piss ripped out me left, right, and centre. And folk think I'm talking to myself, so it looks even worse when I'm replying.
The burner bus, yeah. Somebody in the past has accused of burner accounts, but I can verify that the Bhoycie Bus, if you've been followed by it, it is actually us. By it was me behind it at the moment, but I'll probably get somebody else to chip in with some admin duties on it and all.
Can we call it Bhoycie Bus admin team? Send us a photo of Gavin Strachan and that. Can we start doing that next week?
Bhoycie's laptop, we'll do that.
Gavin Strachan next admin.
And also social media, if you want to follow any of the Bhoycie Bus team, then that is all of our Twitter handles on the screen just now. So you can follow any of us there. So you can take a screen grab of that, whatever. But yeah, that is all of our Twitter handles. So yeah, spread the word of the Bhoycie Bus. Now, if you want to become a Bhoycie Bus member as well, like as we saw at the very start of the show, we have a new member, D-Mac.
Yes,
mate.
Yes.
Welcome aboard. Always good. So yeah, of course, it's absolutely optional. All of our content remains free. It will never be a Patreon or behind a paywall. Just a wee doff of the cab list. Let's give some shout outs to some of the members in the
That's the best
chat.
way to do it, mate.
Alistair Jack, Gary Brown, Kieran McFadden, Pam, and need to go a bit further up. Alex Forsyth. Actually, myself, I always get flack for it every time you call me out and go, why are you a paying member?
It's so mad now. I just realised I pay £1.99 to be a member.
You do exactly. The Bhoycie Bus account's got a wee membership next to it.
Folly, man. I get £1.99 taken out by Google every month, Liam. I'm like, fucking unsubscribing for that prick. I can't be bothered with him anymore. It's actually me.
I've always wondered that. You always say, why is Phil still paying? It's like, you do it. So
I know. That is ridiculous. There's money laundering and then there's just paying money in a vacuum.
Yeah, conflict of interest going on here, I think. But yeah, that's all that good stuff anyway. And of course, if you head over to piesports.com, put in the code BUS1888 for your order, get a nice wee 12.5% off. You won't regret it. Very, very tasty pies. And that's all that good stuff, I believe, wrapped up. And quite a bit of trivia before we get started, guys, because always a wee bit of trivia on Bustalgia. So, of course, this is the 2009-2010 season. And a name that was quite synonymous this season is one, Robbie Keane. Robbie Keane is quite the journeyman in his career. He's played for 11 clubs in his career. Can you name all 11 clubs?
Yeah,
and for bonus points... And for bonus points, how many of them did he sit at his press conference and say it's always been his boyhood dream to play for them? Because he definitely done it at Liverpool and he definitely done it with us, and it became a bit of a meme with Robbie for the rest of his career.
He was doing the best when he said it at Highfield Road. You know what I mean?
LA Galaxy. It was also my dream to play for LA Galaxy.
Aye. He said that as well. He definitely said that at LA Galaxy. He did.
So
he said
there will be a few
playing the MLS. That's it. Aye, you're right there, Mike.
So yeah, for bonus points, if we can figure out how many he actually said it's always been my dream to play for them, then yeah, there we go. We bit extra on that. But yeah, that's what I'm looking for. All the clubs that Robbie Keane has played for. He played for 11 in his career. We've already gave away a few of the answers anyway. We will be giving away a few more when we get to that. Very interesting January transfer window, to say the least. It was a revolving door is certainly the polite way of putting it at Celtic Park, and he was the He was the marquee signing, I would say, but we'll get on to Robbie Keane in due course. Now, let's get into this one, guys, because we've never actually landed in 2009 on the Bustalgia tour so far. So yeah, we've done our tournaments. It's always an even number, but yeah, we start in the summer of 2009. What was going on in the world of football to set us up for this coming season? So naturally, we'll start with the big football winners, what's going on at the end of the 2008-2009 season. And it was Barcelona that won the Champions League. They beat Manchester United 2-0 in the final held in Rome. This was the final when Samuel Eto'o scored his last goal for the club in a Champions League final. Not a bad way to go out. And also, bizarrely, Lionel Messi scored a headed goal in this one, which is a rare sight in itself because he's quite short. But he also bizarrely headed a boot right off of his one. Remember when he's celebrating, he's got one of his football boots in his hand. He managed to, a boot fell off as he headed it. I was like, okay. I've seen players kick the ball and the boot comes off, but somehow one of his boots actually fell off as he headed the ball. And I was like, how did that even happen? So there is a surreal image as he's running off celebrating. He's got one of his boots in his hand. So bizarre. But yeah, 2-0 to Barcelona in that one against Man United. And the UEFA Cup final that year, it was the last ever official UEFA Cup final when it became the Europa League. And it was won by Shakhtar Donetsk, a very easily forgettable final. It was one of those ones where it doesn't stick long in the memory for many historians. They beat Werder Bremen 2-1 in the final. Yep, they mate. Yeah, they beat Bundesliga side Werder Bremen 2-1 in the final in Istanbul. It was held. Now, as for around the continent, what's going on? So Manchester United won the English Premier League. They pipped Liverpool to the title by 4 points. This was the closest Liverpool had come to the title since 1990. Of course, since then they have won it. This is a season that in the run-in, Rafael Benitez had a bit of a Kevin Keegan level meltdown in a press conference where he had a list of facts about referee decisions that have gone against them or gone in favour of Man United.
Yeah,
he sat there going fact and he was reading it out. So it was like Kevin Keegan level. It was one of those. Ferguson just knew how to get under people's skin, how to play the mind games, and he absolutely wound Rafael Benitez up. But yeah, Liverpool, that was the closest it came in a long time. They would eventually get the title a decade later, but yeah, they were very close.
Funnily enough, when Jamie Carragher wasn't in the team anymore. Funny that.
Yeah.
That's a shite. Horse shite he was. Honestly, the worst footballer I've ever seen in my life. If he's a key player, you won't win the league title in that league. Guaranteed.
It was this is the I'm pretty sure there's a game where they beat Man United pretty comfortably at Old Trafford. I think Steven Gerrard scores a penalty and then kisses the camera. He runs over to the Sky TV camera and kisses the barrel of it, and that's he did to celebrate right at the cameras, didn't he? Yeah, and then it implodes for him and it just all goes wrong. Well,
and it's funny because I think Sky Sports were trying to use that image when he did it at Celtic Park as if that was intertwined with when Rangers won the league. It's actually, 4 months later, Lenny had won that league title too. But that's funny. Just a couple of wee things for wee slippage, isn't it? Ego just, the mask slips, doesn't it?
If you don't learn from history, you're doomed to repeat it. And that's what happened with Stevie G. Doomed to repeat it. Chelsea won the FA Cup. Always a good bet for winning the FA Cup. Chelsea, they were a very good cup team, but they beat Everton 2-1 in the final. Luis Saha scored after about 30 seconds in this game, and then Everton capitulated. And of course, it was Didier Drogba, the man for the big occasion. He scored, and so did Frank Lampard. And in the League Cup final, it was a bit of a shannery final, a 0-0 draw between Man U and Tottenham. That then Man United won 4-1 on penalties. Horrendous penalties from Tottenham Hotspur there. Absolutely shocking. In Scotland, of course, we covered this season last week. Unfortunately, Celtic ran out of steam as we barreled down towards the title. 2 games to go. We were in a position to win it. And we finished the season with 2 drab 0-0 draws with the Edinburgh sides. Rangers got in there and won the title, stopped Gordon Strachan from winning 4 in a row. Strachan, of course, leaves. We'll get on to talking about that in a few moments. Scottish Cup, Rangers beat Falkirk 1-0 to win that. So they actually won the double that season. And yeah, we did win the League Cup that season, which we talked about. But it was a mere trinket at the end of the season. It was all for nothing because when you have a team the size of Celtic, you're just winning one of the domestic cups. And nobody cares, mate. Nobody cares. It just wasn't. It was nothing to really shout about. Sadly, you really need the league title to go with it as well to make it more, have a bit more substance to it. But yeah, that was our season in 2009. And sadly, the season we're out to talk about actually went worse than that one. But anyway, we'll get to it soon enough. As for around the continent, Inter Milan won the Italian Serie A. Barcelona won the Spanish league. Here's an interesting one in Germany. the madman himself, Felix Magath, was in charge as VFL Wolfsburg, won the title. Felix Magath, this is the guy that it was revealed that when he was Fulham manager, wanted to do things like put cheese on the players' injuries. Like he had like a therapy, a thing that he did for therapy, like using cheese or something like that, wasn't it? Was it? Who was this defender that revealed this in an interview after his time at Fulham? Oh, can't remember. But yeah, this is the madman he was, Felix Magath, VFL Wolfsburg.
Aye. That's mental he won that with Wolfsburg, though, to be fair. Was that all Steve McLaren's hard work?
Well, I guess he was the 20. I think he was still the 20 manager at that point.
So, so you're telling me Steve McLaren's joined the German champions when he's joined Wolfsburg?
Aye, because
that's now insane.
20 won the league in 2010, so he's still the 20 manager. Felix Magath, I believe, goes to Bayern Munich at some point in the near future.
So he's joined the German champions, Steve McLaren.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wow.
Aye. I looked at the Wolfsburg team. This is the one that had Edin Dzeko as their main striker before he makes his move to Man City. He scored a barrel load of goals that season to lead them to the title. But yeah, Felix Magath, I say he was a Fulham manager a few years back, and he had some mad stories about him. There was a game that they played at, I want to say, Old Trafford or something. He was so annoyed at how little the players tried that when they got back to London at Craven Cottage, he basically made the players go out there in the early hours of the morning and stand in their positions for 90 minutes on the park. Just because he felt he did just to punish them, and it was like that's not really going to get the players on side. I think, especially in this day and age, where players like to be mollycoddled and have a Jurgen Klopp put his arm around them. You know, it's like that's not really going to work for you there, Felix. And yeah, he didn't last too long at Fulham. But yeah, I always found it interesting that he won the German league with VFL Wolfsburg, a team that I've never mentioned when I've went over the champions on Bustalgia or who won what. And this is the first and only time they pop up. But yeah, he was the manager there. In France, it was Bordeaux that won it. In Portugal, it was Porto. And in Holland, it was AZ Alkmaar. So we had Bordeaux, Alkmaar, and Wolfsburg, 3 teams that never really pop up in the previous champions. So strange summer, that one. But anyway, big transfers. Some really big transfers in 2009. Liam, this is a strange one because Kaká signed for Real Madrid for what was a world record 67 million euros. And just a few weeks after that, Real Madrid broke the record again by signing Cristiano Ronaldo for, I believe it worked out 80-something million pounds. It's 94 million euros. It's listed as on Transfer Market. But 2 players in one window breaking the world record. It's bizarre with Kaká because he was obviously the golden boy of Brazilian football, won the Champions League with AC Milan. He was the golden boy there. But yeah, he goes to Real Madrid and suddenly he's the big deal. And then just mad weeks later, how unlucky for him. Cristiano Ronaldo rocks up and it's like, you think you're the big boy? No, I'm the big boy around here. But it just never worked out, Liam, did it, for Kaká, given how a talented player? But at Real Madrid, he just never seemed to fit in there.
I don't know, it's too nice, maybe. You know, he didn't have that ruthlessness that you see in, like guys, showing up like Ronaldo.
I agree with that.
Maybe too much of a team player, where all of a sudden he's thrown in with Wolves. He's used to playing in a team, being supportive and all that, and that was all about no, just get me on the marquee,
It was a mental summer. See, it's big enough when you sign Kaká, but then to do that. But obviously Ronaldo, safe to say, Russell, it worked out pretty well for Ronaldo at Real Madrid because it's probably the best he's been in his career. When you look at how he's played over the years, his Real Madrid time is peak Ronaldo, isn't it?
It was incredible for them. It's no coincidence when his best spell at Real was when Jose took over. Mr. Negative, the most negative defensive manager in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Record goals in La Liga of all time. Jose Mourinho's team with Ronaldo. I think Ronaldo scored 60 goals in a calendar year as well. And then Messi beat that. I think Messi did 61.
Aye.
But that's the sort of comparisons we're doing. The whole game's fucked. So who can get to 61 goals in a calendar year? But I think Ronaldo found home there. I think he was born to play for them. I think you just get a fit. You get a fit sometimes, and I think Liam's maybe got a point when it comes to Kaká. You go, maybe he was the big fish at Milan, and then you put him in the ocean. And I'm not suggesting AC Milan aren't a massive club, of course they are, but I think Real Madrid is the ocean. Do you know what I mean? It's where the big sharks are, and maybe Kaká wasn't quite used to either having to elevate himself above
Mhm.
peers, or I don't know, just maybe Milan was the best fit for Kaká. The same way,
Yeah.
I think Ronaldo was a perfect fit for Madrid.
Yeah, because Kaká does end up back at Milan a few years later. What was that, Liam?
I think that's like anything, right? You go to your work, and sometimes it's great people that you get along with and makes it all good. And I think teams are like that as well. Some teams are just a pain in the arse to play on. You know, you get guys that moan or that, or guys that don't train well, and or maybe he just wanted more fun in training and they were more professional. Or all sorts of reasons why really good players don't work out. You know, clubs. I think that's why our club's special, because you can see what Ange's building there as well, where it's like.
Right.
He's making sure the mentality is that it goes across the entire team, you know.
Aye. Speaking of Kaká, and you bring this up, I take it you have seen the video that went viral a few years ago where it was some sort of competition where he was playing five-a-sides at Hackney Marshes, London, and there's a guy who's like shouting at him to square the ball with him. Like Kaká's just weaving by people, scoring goals for fun. This other guy who's in his team is like asking for him to square the ball to him, and it's just like, mate, it's Kaká. For God's sake, what are you thinking? It's one of these competitions that you do. So I think Real Carlos has took part in it as well. I think he done a thing where it was like sign for a Sunday League team for a game or something. I remember Carlos, right. But there's one Kaká doing he's playing at Hackney Marshes in London, and he's playing five-a-sides with guys, and I play my guys just shouting like, "Oh, geez, the ball, Kaká." There you go. There it is. Kieran McFadden, spot on. I cut it back, a five-a-side game in London. Unbelievable, man. And Kaká he's like, nah, mate, essentially the Neil Lennon thing, fuck off. He's not going to give him the ball. No chance. But that's Kaká, though, he didn't work out too well at Real Madrid for him. Still an amazing player, but he goes back to AC Milan a few years later and gets himself back on tracks. It's definitely the club that he's always associated with. But yeah, this was a summer where Real Madrid, probably before financial fair play came in, I would take a guess. Not that it matters much, because financial fair play doesn't really equate to anything, it seems. Real Madrid would also sign a young French striker who burst on the scene that season at Lyon by the name of Karim Benzema. I remember him scoring at Ibrox against Rangers in a Champions League game a couple of seasons before. Only 18 years old. Safe to say he's done all right, because he's still at Real Madrid to this day and is probably playing the best football of his career. Took me a while. He's a bit of a slow burner, Benzema, but yeah, now that he is the main man at Real Madrid for the last few years, he's definitely playing. He's aged like a fine wine, essentially. Vintage. Also, Real Madrid again, busy just forming a new Galacticos here. Xabi Alonso would become the latest Galactico as well, signing from Liverpool that summer. Now, what else is going on?
How much do you think he would have cost then?
Xabi Alonso?
30? 20 million? 30 million?
No idea. I don't even pay attention to the transfer market.
Because he was huge though for Liverpool, you don't remember?
He was.
He was huge.
Yep.
He was a Champions League winner for them, and he was their linchpin. Like, Gerrard was getting all the glory doing 30-yard wonders, sometimes at the corner flag, sometimes at the back of the net. Whereas Alonso, I think, was the the engine behind all that.
Engine. I would agree with that. Gerrard again makes it all by himself.
He must have cost a hell of a lot as well. I'm thinking of, if Ronaldo was 80 million quid, Kaká, I think, was 56 million quid. What is a peak Xabi Alonso costing for Liverpool?
Oh, it must be in the 30 millions
a fair amount of money. I would have thought that would have been unless he maybe had a year left in his deal or something, but
maybe.
I think it would have cost a fair few bucks.
Aye, no, you would definitely think so, because he's very underrated when you think about it in that Liverpool team, because it was all about Gerrard in the midfield. But Xabi Alonso, he is the engine. Essentially, he was a great player. But yeah, he joins Real Madrid. They were following a real Galacticos team here. Now, another team that was making big moves, though, was Inter Milan. Jose Mourinho's Inter Milan. So he got sacked by Chelsea a couple of years, or a year and a half before. He's now at Inter. So this is the summer where Samuel Eto'o and Zlatan Ibrahimovic swap places with a transfer fee as well, Russell. You can confirm
40 million quid, not euros. 40 million pounds plus Eto'o. It's what Pep Guardiola pays for a player he doesn't want.
Yeah, only lasts a year, Zlatan. Yep. Mental. Doesn't like personalities, though, Pep. Because he didn't like Eto'o, and Eto'o scores his final goal for the club in the Champions League final when they beat Man United, and then he's ousted for Zlatan, who comes in and didn't quite work out there. But again, that was just the personality clash with old Pep. Zlatan was never going to change. He was going to be Zlatan, and he obviously didn't like it. Big personality, couldn't deal with him. But yeah, that was the summer they swapped places. And also, Inter Milan would also sign Wesley Sneijder that summer. They'd also sign Diego Milito.
What a surname, by the way.
Schneider.
Yeah. Schneider.
Eredivisie.
I love that. I love just Snyder. It's so Scottish. He doesn't realise it's so Scottish. If it was like, if you're writing a comic book about football, like wee Wesley Sneijder.
But of course, we talked about him and we did the World Cup show. We've talked about the 2010 or 11 season, talked about Inter winning that treble. Schneider was probably the best midfielder in the world at that point in time. But they also signed Argentinian striker Diego Milito from Genoa, and they signed Brazilian defender Lucio from Bayern Munich. It was a hell of a team that Jose Mourinho was building, and they would, of course, go on and win a treble the coming season: Champions League, Serie A, and the Italian Cup. Bayern Munich were keen to get their title back in Germany, so they brought in Arjen Robben and Mario Gomez. Manchester City's spending began to ramp up following the takeover as they brought in Carlos Tevez, Emmanuel Adebayor, Julian Lescott, Rocky Santa Cruz, who I completely forgot had signed for Man City when I was doing this. I was like, I forgot he was even a City player. Rocky Santa Cruz. He's brought in Gareth Barry and Kolo Touré as well that summer. Michael Owen left a sour taste in the mouth of many a Liverpool fan when he chose to sign for Manchester United on a free transfer when his contract expired at Newcastle. I think Liverpool were sniffing around trying to get him back, and he opted to sign for Manchester United. Yeah, so that didn't go down too well.
Also, Liverpool tried to get Michael Owen when he joined Newcastle.
So they did, yes, they were, yeah.
But Newcastle paid 17 million for Owen, and Liverpool only offered 10 million for their favourite son. That's all they would offer.
Yeah.
Liverpool, because he wanted to win a European Cup, and then as soon as he left, Liverpool won the European Cup. And then when he left Real Madrid, they won the European Cup. And it's just like, you know, it's these people that just chase things, you know.
Join the dots.
Aye. Oh, man, I never thought of that. But Liverpool were obviously trying to get back a few times, but no, he signed for Newcastle and then signed for Man United, which obviously didn't go doing too well on Merseyside. Now, what's going on in terms of pop culture and news headlines as we headed into this season? So when Celtic kicked off the season, up at Pittodrie, beating Aberdeen 3-1. Tinchy Strider was number one in the singles charts. Michael Jackson was number one in the album chart because Michael Jackson had just passed away that summer, so his Greatest Hits album was elevated to the top spot. And the big film at the cinema that month was Inglourious Bastards. Quentin Tarantino's Inglourious Bastards, a great film. Brilliant. Tea in the Park 2009 was headlined by Kings of Leon, The Killers, and Blur over the 3 nights, and also appearing with Franz Ferdinand, Snow Patrol, Razorlight, Specials, Paolo Nutini, Calvin Harris, Lady Gaga, Block Party, Lily Allen, and Squeeze. Glastonbury, who took a year off in 2008, they came back with quite a legends lineup, I would say, because you look at this, it was Neil Young, Bruce Springsteen, and Blur over the 3 nights headlining on the main stage, but also playing Glasgow, of course, Kasabian, they had to pop up somewhere, didn't they? Tom Jones, Madness, Status Quo, Tony Christie, Crosby, Stills and Nash, The Specials, The Prodigy, Franz Ferdinand, NERD, Lily Allen. It was like, what a legendary music acts. Glastonbury came back with a bang that summer. Some of the choices.
See, the thing is, like, Tom Jones, he played Tea in the Park as well. And he was fucking amazing, right? But, like, me and my mate were like, see, when he does Sex Bomb, this is going to go nuts.
Yeah.
I played it.
Oh, what?
It makes sense to me. I was like, I got all the brass band stuff and that with, like, Delilah and all that, but I was like, he'll finish with Sex Bomb. Do you know what I mean? Like, it will go, and it will go nuts. Because I think everyone was anticipating, never played it. It was weird. And Blur, like, trust me, I know I might like Oasis and stuff, but, like, I was looking forward to seeing a couple of Blur songs. He showed up 40 minutes late. They claimed he'd broke his fucking leg. Like, so the rest of the band was I think Damon's really injured himself this time. He fucking gets on stage, he's rolling about the floor and that within a song. Away with the birds. Trust me. Drunk. Damon Albarn. I'm like, for Mr. Precious, the artiste that is Damon Albarn, can't handle a shandy. Honestly, Fanny. They're probably the biggest disappointment I've ever seen live. I would say so. They played Tender for about. In fact, if you listen closely, they're still playing Tender right now on the main stage at Blether. Fuck me. It went on for about 20 fucking minutes, man. I was like, they're blagging it though, because they're looking at him going, he can't do this. He can't do it. He's away. He was rolling on his back like a wee beetle. I'm like, what are you doing, mate? Like,
No wonder he went and pretended to be a cartoon character for a few years with gorillas.
Fuck off. Honestly, you can't keep up. If you can't handle the pace, get out the fucking kitchen. He should never have been in the park.
Shane McGowan did that with 2 bottles of whiskey and about 40 pints of Guinness, slaggering about on stage, never misses his mark once. Me and my mate,
you know it, Liam. You know it.
Like, and he's on cue for everything. His timing, it's unbelievable.
It's just shows you how you know, he can't keep up, old Damon Albarn. But as I say, he was too busy being a cartoon character for a few years. Did easy live gigs, even just press play on a video, you know, Gorillas live, and it's like it's a video of a cartoon band. It's like, really, people were. Oh,
and one of the cartoons is called fucking Russell, which really upsets me.
Oh no!
I'm like, as if my name couldn't get any shiter. Fucking Damon Albarn getting the blue cartoon after it. Fuck off, mate.
Oh, exactly. In terms of news headlines, as I said, Michael Jackson, he died that summer, passed away in June 2009. And another story that I found in the summer of 2009 is actually related to Celtic. This is the summer that John Hartson was diagnosed with brain cancer that had actually spread to other parts of his body, including his lungs. It was actually this summer. Hartson underwent emergency treatment in July 2009. He was deemed in a critical condition at one point. However, he's since made a full recovery. Without a shadow of a doubt, it's safe to say God bless John Hartson. What a guy. And it was this summer, as I say,
scary,
I was like, I knew it was around about the two, but it was, I remember, what was it? He was in the studio. He was in the studio at Satanta the night we won the league at Tannadice in 2008.
Yes.
That's like a year before this. You know,
he's
a year
only
later.
33 then.
Jesus, man, crazy. But it's the 2000 summer.
That's younger than what I am now.
Fucking, does he be thinking about, man?
I was an athlete at any point in my life. Do you know what I mean? You go, fuck's sake, how does that happen to folk? Weird.
It was and all the headlines were saying it was looking pretty grim, but as I say, he's made a full recovery to this day and still going. So say God bless Big John.
Hey Phil, see the day Michael Jackson died.
Mm-hmm.
There was another famous celebrity died that day, an hour before he died. And it took away all the headlines, and a lot of people still don't realise that she died. But see the guys that are my vintage, some of the older ones that are watching, Farrah Fawcett died that day.
Farrah Fawcett, aye.
Charlie's Angels.
Mm-hmm, yep.
Look, goddess. And she died about an hour before Michael Jackson. And by the time that news happened at Michael Jackson, nobody's even talking about acknowledged that she'd even died that day. It's crazy.
I can remember like a headline about a pass away, but I was going to get superseded when Jackson passed away in very, very bizarre circumstances. But most of his life was very bizarre, let's be honest. It was a very strange man. Obviously, some actually legendary music, but yeah, very odd character to say the least. That's putting it lightly. That's probably the most polite way I could say it. But yeah, that was a. Yeah, let's move on from that one. Here's a bit of a throwback to the 1980s in this summer. Again, another headline where I was like, can't believe that. Obviously, in the 80s, in English football in particular, it was rife with hooliganism, but it was a throwback at the start of this season because in the early rounds of the old Carling Cup, League Cup, whatever it was, Coca-Cola Cup, whatever it was at that point, Worthington Cup, yeah, Worthington Cup was another sponsor. But yeah, in one of the early rounds, West Ham drew Millwall. Oh, I bet the organisers were shitting a brick. Yeah. It was an absolute massacre. Basically, there was 3 pitch invasions during the game. There was fighting outside Upton Park, inside Upton Park, items getting thrown on the park and so on. One fan was stabbed outside the stadium as well. So a real throwback. So some ugly headlines there. A real throwback to the Milk Cup. That's right. It was known as the Milk Cup at one point as well from Alex Forsyth. But yeah, that's a few of the news headlines. Now, let's get on to the big headline pre-season roundup. What was going on at Celtic? Because naturally, it was a very big one. We find ourselves in a position where we need to get a new manager because Gordon Strachan, after 4 years, has moved on. And yeah, there was many stories, of course, that we were in for Owen Coyle of Burnley, who got promoted to the Premier League that summer. Owen Coyle publicly knocked his back after we approached him. He wasn't interested, which is fair enough. He was going up to the Premier League with Burnley after all. Now, I knew at the time there was a few other names that were flying around, and I forgot who they were. But when I'd done my research on this, and I thought, I know we end up with Tony Mowbray. It doesn't go quite well, but how does this one fill you with confidence, Liam, if this had happened? Gordon Strachan was really pushing for Mark McGee to get the Celtic job, apparently. What do you think of that idea?
I mean, the nepotism with this, with Gordon Strachan, he's like Tony Soprano. What is his family or pals or anything he's been involved with not, taking over like a virus? It's just...
It's so true.
Napoleon. Like, he's everywhere. His influence in the game is far beyond what it properly should be, for what he's really accomplished. He's no Alex Ferguson, but it's like his prodigies are everywhere. So
these two pricks are in fucking cahoots left, right and centre in Scottish football. That's the truth. We spoke before. Adam Virgo, £1.5 million from a nearly bankrupt Brighton and Hove Albion. 1.5 million of Celtic's money. Your season ticket money, Phil. Mark Kearney's season ticket money. Other guys on the bus, season ticket money. Folk watching right now, Gordon Strachan was allowed the licence to spend £1.5 million on a footballer, label him the new Chris Sutton, because he could play centre-half and up front at the same time, apparently.
Oh, dear.
And all that was does Brighton and Hove Albion, who Mark McGee's in charge of at the time, need a cash injection. Fast forward.
Yeah.
Fast forward. Strachan's leaving Celtic, recommends Mark McGee for the Celtic job. It's not from a care of Celtic's point of view.
Nope.
It's not a care of
100%.
Celtic's point of view. That is an old pals act and beyond an old pals act. Then we get to the stage. Dundee fans, I dare say none of you's watched The Bus, which is a pity, because I don't know what kind of bus you actually do watch. But you wouldn't be fallen by the Tayside if you'd been paying attention. Fallen by the Tayside was pretty funny there, Phil. But if you've been paying attention, if you've been, not in denial. No, but if you'd actually been paying attention, Gordon Strachan becomes advisor at his favourite club of all time, Liam. Dundee. Oh, I'm back to my roots. Kim, what we'll do, we'll sack James McPake and we'll put Mark McGee in charge for the relegation run-in. He's not managed a team in 4 years. How does that come about? Comes about because those two pricks are stealing wages from one to another. I'll help you out, you help me out. It is the biggest load of bullshit. Am I not right in thinking Scotland international job? Was McGee one of the assistants?
Yes. Yeah, I definitely.
They are taking the piss, those two pricks.
They are, by the way.
I'm serious.
Join the dots.
They stole money. They steal fucking money. And Strachan is up to his fucking neck. And to me, taking fans for fools and making sure his mate gets bankrolled to what? Wait, don't call me a Dundee. Don't call yourself a Dundee fan and then put Mark McGee in charge to save relegation. We've seen the scripts. Yep. They're all written if you look behind. And the fact that he recommended him to be his replacement at Celtic, I mean, if nobody can fucking see that, it's the most ridiculous thing of all time. That's the chance you got.
I knew there was other names that were linked after we didn't get Owen Coyle, but I forgot about the whole Mark McGee thing. Once I was reading up on it, I was like, fuck, I do remember this now. And by the way, exclusive coming in here, StuTube is coming in to tell us Owen Coyle's wife didn't allow him to join Celtic, my aunt's cousin. So there you go, StuTube's got insider knowledge as to one of the reasons why Owen Coyle didn't join. There you go.
Obviously, his aunt's cousin doesn't like Iron Brew.
Obviously so. But do you know who's another name that was linked to us as well at the time? Which again,
Roberto!
Well, no, that would be an all right one when you think about it. I've got a bad one for you. If you think about Mark McGee doing bad, do you know that Dundee United manager Craig Levein was one of the names that was getting linked to us as well at the time?
Nah.
I was reading the headlines, newspaper articles. The Guardian had an article about it when we were getting
written by him.
No, was he?
Fuck off.
I was like, imagine if Craig Levein had rocked up as Celtic manager at
that's
that point.
never
Fuck.
happened. That was never happening.
But
I
in the
remember
end,
it being Owen Coyle, right?
Yeah.
And I was down with that because I was like, the way he was playing at the time, Liam, with these, like the way he had these teams playing, it was rock and roll football, and I thought that would be good. That's the Celtic. But it was always Bobby Martinez by now was on the radar.
Mm-hmm.
He was at Swansea, I'm sure, at this point.
Right.
You know, I think Bobby Martinez was the boy. That's who we should have got then.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
He'd have done it in a
a few
heartbeat.
times over the years as well.
Well, his wife's born in Glasgow.
That's
He
right.
was
He
only a
played for
mother for
Motherwell.
like a year.
Yep.
Aye. And he was Sportscene's best pundit that year. 30 years, 29 years old. And he did Sportscene as the main pundit.
There's
Speak the best English with all of them.
So he did. I can remember that. And there's Alistair Jackson. Apparently, Steve Clark was also interviewed at the time.
What clout did he have though to get the Celtic job at that point?
At that point, who was even managing at that stage?
No
Steve
one.
Clark?
No, I don't think he's done West Brom yet. I don't think he's done West Brom by this point.
I think you're right. I don't think he's even been there. I'm trying to put myself back in that time frame, but yeah, I can remember the Owen Coyle stuff. But obviously,
he was an assistant at Chelsea back then.
Aye, so he was. Aye, he was that. Yes, Kieran. That's a good throwback there. That reference, if you know, you know.
Oh, Sparky, Marky, best second pal, my favourite Welsh manager of all time, Marco Isaac. Shut up, wee fella.
But in the end, guys, after Owen Coyle, we turned our attention to Tony Mowbray, who had obviously played for us in the 90s. Very dark time to play for Celtic, but he did, of course, turn out for Celtic during that era. He'd managed up in Scotland, being the Hibs manager just a few years before, and he got not mostly relative success, but he was quite well liked in terms of style of play with that Hibs team, because that was that young, exciting Hibs team that were coming through at that point. But he'd gone down to West Bromwich Albion and tried to continue that philosophy of trying to play the old total football, keep it on the deck, lots of possession.
He got fucking relegated.
And he got relegated, correct? He went down. They finished bottom of the league, I believe. So we turned our attention to Tony Mowbray. After very publicly getting knocked back with the Owen Coyle stuff, for them, Peter Lawwell and John Reid, who was the chairman at the time, to sit there at the press conference and go, we're happy we've got our man. And it's like, but he's not your man, is he? He was second choice, maybe even third choice, if you believe other stories. So right away, he obviously came in. What was your first impressions then when Tony Mowbray joined? Were you happy with that, Russell? Were you just happy to get a manager after a bit of delay?
I knew how much I liked Mowbray because the huddle, as Celtic says, Celtic. That's not me doing the Dutch accent. That's me
Schneider.
reading the Avatar, Celtic. No, but I agree with Shell. I mean, the man who gave us the huddle, there's a huge emotional pull there. Huge emotional pull. And we all know what happened when he was at Celtic. It was his wife, wasn't it?
It was, yeah.
Cancer stuff, again, which is quite prevalent to what we were just talking about a minute ago.
Mm-hmm.
See, at the end of the day, Collins got Hibs over the line, not Mowbray.
Yeah, that's true, yeah. Collins
John
won
Collins,
that league up, yeah.
John Collins became the wanker because he wasn't Mr. Nice Guy. Because he was like, I'll pick up the ball right now, but what I'm going to do, with all the foundations you've laid, I'm going to make them winners. And they won the League Cup, and then they lost their way a bit because they actually, turns out they didn't like getting roused. They didn't like lectures. They didn't want to be pushed to their limit every day. I'm not sure Mowbray was pushing him to their limit every day. I think he was nice, a pacifier. And I think what Mowbray did in the EPL has been very much Ange in the CL. People don't want to hear it, but it's the truth. Plaudits, not points. That leads to exits in the CL, and it leads to relegation in the PL. Whether you like it or whether you don't, these are the facts. And I also agree with you, Phil. I don't think Mowbray was first choice. I think it was dressed up. I think it was Emperor's New Clothes. This is the guy we always wanted. For me, it was Owen Coyle was the target. If you can't convince Owen Coyle to take the Celtic job, you have not sold it right. This is an Irish international, Celtic daft his whole life, on fire at the peak of his powers in terms of managerial clout at the time, who is speaking to you. Get him over the line. You didn't have the courage of your convictions. You were clearly giving too many warning signs away. You can see it's about his wife or from his auntie. I'm not going to fuck. Trust me. Lay it out and make it an attractive proposition. And Owen Coyle, every day of the week, becomes Celtic manager. And the second he doesn't, you know you are in up shit creek. If it ain't him, you make it Roberto Martinez.
Martinez, aye.
That was the
definitely
other
was.
option, in my opinion. I don't get it. I was saying at the time, Mowbray, for me, a relegated manager, that's not a winning mentality, Liam. That's not someone coming in here with going, here's the clout, here's what I bring to the table. He didn't even win the League Cup at Hibs. John Collins won that. Okay, folk will call it Mowbray's team. Mowbray wasn't there.
See when Mowbray showed up for us, to me that was like going to piesports.com and I'm sending you a plain pie, no sauce, no even heated up properly, just dry and drab, and that's what we were getting, when we got Tony Mowbray. Like, there was nothing that captures your imagination as a Celtic supporter. I go on about that. I like Celtic for how it makes me feel emotionally and all that. As you say, Russell, it's like a girlfriend, right? And Mowbray was just like, oh, girlfriend. That was like really plain looking version of that.
That's my 6 out of 10 X.
No, my Celtic. I like my Celtic to be a bit more swashbuckling, a bit more. We're pirates, Like, didn't
She's going to throw a pint tumbler at me, as you know. Either way, we're in a good boat. If that's the case, do you know what I mean? Mowbray's giving you a packet of plain crisp, some vanilla ice cream, and he's probably got the wee fella sitting in his knee like a wee ventriloquist puppet.
He also forgot to use his code Busing88 for his order, so he's even paying the full price because we had to pay a pretty penny in compensation for him as well. Remember, we had to do that. So yeah, it was not the best start. So he's sitting there and he's obviously unveiled. Oh, we've got our man. It's like, was he really your man, though, was he? But then, of course, one thing that
Can I very quickly jump in, Phil? Sorry, very quickly as well with the appointment. Am I not right in thinking it was Celtic's record managerial fee of all time as well? I'm sure he was £2 million compo.
Yeah, I think so. I can think
Which,
who
in
that
British
before then.
terms at that point, would easily be top 10 ever.
It would be, yeah. I would
In
say at
Britain,
that point in time,
not just
2009, yeah.
Scotland. Oh, aye.
Yeah.
£2 million, mate.
Aye.
£2 million, I'm sure we paid to get Mowbray out the contract.
I remember it was quite a
Fucking
meaty.
baffling.
Aye. He came in for that as well. He also brought with him his expert team around him. Peter Grant returned to the club as a first-team coach and former Ipswich player, and Tony Mowbray's teammate Ipswich, Mark Venus, came in as the assistant manager. Now, one of the things that I picked up on early on that worried me right away about Mowbray was he spent pretty much the first month of his tenure chasing one player. We were only ever linked with one player the entire time, and that was Marc-Antoine Fortuné, who'd been on loan at West Brom for the year. And I don't know if this was at his unveiling or if it was in a press conference interview running up to the signing, but he definitely admitted that Marc-Antoine Fortuné is not a striker that scores goals. Now, keep in mind what we talked about last week, how Celtic ran out of goals the season before. Vennegoor Hesselink has left. We're left to Samaras and McDonald and Chris Killen are our striker options. See, the end of the last season, we ran out of goals. The club copped a lot of flack for no signing Stevie Fletcher, for instance. And you've just spent pretty much the first month of your tenure chasing a striker who you then admit in an interview or a press conference, he's not really a goal-scoring forward. And it's like, are you kidding me? And unfortunately, he was proved correct because Marc-Antoine Fortuné certainly was not a goal-scoring forward, was he?
Mids,
yeah, he was. Yeah,
I couldn't believe we chased him for that long, and it was like, but that just summed up the appointment to me. Lacked imagination. So we chased one player. I was expecting, okay, what you going to bring in? But then again, you have to be excited about the appointment, and when your first signings, nothing inspires you again. You sort of feel you might be in for a long season.
Right. And we spent the guts of £4 million on this guy, 3.8 million, I believe it was.
Twice what Tony Mowbray cost himself, for fuck's sake.
Oh my God. So yeah, it's not exactly an inspiring start to get you on side. See, we need a striker that's a proven goal scorer after how the previous season's ended.
The key is in his name. The most fortunate bastard in the fucking world to get to play for Celtic, I swear. I'd have scored more goals than him. Kenny Miller could have scored more goals than him.
By the way. Oh, yeah, so he was the first one, and he was the big marquee signing for him that summer. Scary. But who else came in? Who else did he get tooled up with for this assault on the title? We brought in Lucas Zaluska on a free transfer for Dundee, but that was a deal that was already agreed previously before Mowbray came in. He also brought in, oh God, Josh Thompson from Stockport County.
He
Remember
became a
him?
regular.
He did.
He was
I
playing
know.
every week.
Aye. Danny Fox for Coventry City. Landry
I
and
didn't mind
Guemo
him. I
joined
liked
on
him.
loan for
I didn't mind Danny. I didn't mind Danny Fox.
Aye.
I
Did he
didn't
play
mind him, man.
for
We got rid of him after half a season. We sold
He
him
got a
for
cap
half
in Scotland, didn't he?
He did,
Aye.
yeah, he did.
Like,
Yep. Aye.
the way that, like, I could get a cap for Jamaica tomorrow. Do you know what I mean? The connection is that loose. Do you know what I mean? Like, well, I've landed in Scotland before.
Challenge that. I'm going to challenge that. Next chance you're getting a cap for Jamaica.
Aye, bolt Bhoycie.
And
Anyway,
the other one that he brought in, though, a player that we've mentioned before, and you said you were a fan of this guy, so Zheng Ji. Remember him? He
Aye,
joined
Tim.
that summer. He came in for
He was
Charlton
good.
Athletic on a free transfer, who I believe Mowbray had worked with at a previous club anyway. So he'd,
he was good. He was very good.
Aye, so
He was a technical player. He was good. I remember Nguemo came in,
Good.
and apparently the story is that Scott Brown was told that he's going to take your jersey. And Scott Brown basically sat there half injured and went, "When's the next bleep test?" Scott Brown's not even close to fitness. Did the beep test. It was just him and Nguemo left. Pretty just didn't stop. Run him a half a leg just to beat him. He was like, fuck that. This is the level you need to be at. There's an interview, I can't remember who it's with, but he talks about him big time. And it's like, Nguemo was getting rumoured to be the boy. And Brownie's like, get away. I actually thought Nguemo again. I look at the modern Celtic team and I go, I think there's a place for that sort of player. I think when you're up against a Walter Smith side that's about to embark on 3 in a row, I think you need to fight fire with fire sometimes. I think that's where, we've done the Lenny seasons. That's what we knew we needed to do, because I think there was too much based on technical players. And I think sometimes you need to know your race that you're in. Sometimes it ain't just about all the gloss. Sometimes it's about get fucking stuck in. And I don't think Mowbray understood what it took to sign a player who would get stuck in. He didn't get it. Look at his signings. They don't. They're not carved for that makeup. Do you know what I mean?
Definitely. And the thing is, this window for what's coming in is quite tame to what's going to come in January, but there was a lot going out. He cleared out a massive chunk of what he'd inherited from Gordon Strachan. So leaving Celtic that summer was Shinsuke Nakamura, Jan Venegura Hesselink, Bobo Baldi, who I forgot was even there at that point, John Joe Perrier Doumbé, Paul Hartley, Killian Sheridan, Darren O'Day, Mark Brown, Simon Ferry, Ben Hutchison. And despite making a good start to the season, looking like a man reborn, Massimo Donati left very late in the window because he actually looked like, we might actually get a tune out of Donati, but nope.
He's got the volley sort of
against Arsenal.
Aye, at the Emirates. He looked. I thought he's going to do well. I also remember, you need to remember, see with Simon Ferry, and he's obviously, I love open goal thing. I still love it. Yeah. And he said he was offered 3 years at Celtic. He chose to leave.
Strachan under Mowbray.
He chose to leave before that season. He decided to make Swindon permanent, but Celtic had offered him another 3 years. Turning that down. I think that's takes a pair of bollocks to do that. I really do. And maybe he's just like, look, I could do another 3 years, but nobody cares, mate. I'll just sit. I'll be yesterday's. I'll be the nearest, like, you know what I mean, the almost guy every single time. But I think Ferry. He probably had it. Let's be honest. Look how bad Mowbray's season went. He probably had more of a chance than ever that year.
I probably could have. I mean, if Josh Thompson could become a regular at one point, then why could Saifé not? Now, here's something again that just blew my mind when I was doing the research for this, because obviously at this point I'll usually say, what would the other side doing? The title rivals. This makes it even worse how bad this season goes. Rangers signed one player that summer, Jerome Roten from Monaco, I want to say.
Oh, I remember him. Yes.
And that was the only business done. They didn't bring in anybody in January. They only brought in Jerome Roten, who I think they actually cut his loan short in January. So they didn't even improve from winning the title, like building on their position of strength. And we just threw everything at a wall and we just couldn't even get near them. It makes it even worse this season how that happened.
Did you see Rotten? He was the left winger when Monaco got to the Champions League
Champions
final.
League final, yes.
Morientes was up front, remember, on loan for Real Madrid.
Yep.
But it was that Rotten guy was unbelievable, that Champions League campaign.
Mm-hmm.
You know, again, it goes back to Scottish football, different sport almost, if you know what I mean. Then you can have the best will in the world to be, sign the best possible players available. He just didn't have the stomach for it. And sometimes just, sadly, whether rightly or wrongly, that does become a huge factor if you want to cut it at the top two.
Indeed. Well, Rangers also sold that summer Charlie Adam, Barry Ferguson, Christian Daly, Brahim Hamdani, Andy Webster, and Andreas Velichka all left. So, yeah, they've lost a few key guys. Charlie Adam and Barry Ferguson were big ones. The rest of them are all squad players. But, yeah, that's the Rangers team that we were up against this season. And that just shows how far we must have been off it if we couldn't lay a glove on that. So, yeah, it makes it even worse when I was doing my research and going through that. I was like, I can't believe that how bad we were compared to that. But, hey, just the way it goes. Now, what else happened that summer? Pre-season friendly-wise, Celtic would fly to Australia and beat Brisbane Roar 3-0. My first thought when I saw this score was Ange Postecoglou the Brisbane Roar manager? No, but he does become the manager in 2 months' time. October 2009, he took over. This is in the summer of 2009 we played them. So we almost crossed paths with Ange Postecoglou at that point. Also, of course, as we all know, that summer Celtic won the prestigious Wembley Cup, defeating Al Ahly and Tottenham Hotspur. We then have to play Barcelona. It was one of those weird tournaments where there's 4 teams in the group, but you only play 2 games. So we beat Al Ahly 5-0 and then beat Tottenham 2-0. So yeah, the very prestigious Wembley Cup. The image of Darren O'Day, the captain, going up the Wembley steps, all the way up the new Wembley steps to pick up this wee tiny trophy that I believe is designed by a child in a competition. But yeah, the Wembley Cup. So Celtic have actually walked up the stairs at Wembley and lifted a trophy. So they've got that on their CV at least. So that was one thing that they also had a 0-0 draw with Cardiff City as well during that summer, and they lost 2-1 to Sunderland and 2-1 to Manchester City in their final pre-season friendlies. In between all of those friendlies, though, we did have some Champions League qualifiers to navigate, and some people would say that Mowbray's reign maybe peaked at this point, which is quite worrying given the season's not even properly started. But yeah, we played Dynamo Moscow in the first round, lost 1-0 at Celtic Park, and then had a very good performance away from home. At a time when Celtic don't traditionally travel very well away from home in Europe, we won 2-0. Scott McDonald and a great goal by George Samaras. Superb goal. Controls it in the edge of the area of the chest, runs along the 18-yard line, and just passes it into the net. And it was like, as I say, people think that that's when Mowbray's reign peaked. Sadly, they may be right, and that's only the start of the season. But then, of course, we would draw Arsenal in the next round, and they beat us 2-0 at Celtic Park and then 3-1 down in London. So we were out of the Champions League qualifiers at the playoff round. And the Europa League awaited. Funny enough, remember Liam was talking
just very quickly, do you remember it? See, for me, Liam, this is when it all changed. Because that Arsenal playoff thing was something in the 2000s we would have thrived on. That was something we embraced, we engaged in. We went, fucking Arsenal. They're a fallen foot. We'll have them. And it was the first time you watched those 2 games, and at no point did you feel in either leg, we're in this. You felt there's a gulf. You know how they talk about the disparity? This, to me, was the beginning of the change.
Mm-hmm.
I found at that time that, see, watching that game with Arsenal, I felt like we were watching Porto again. The amount of diving and simulation, it hit peak at that point. And you always heard the English commentators, well, that never happens in English football. And I was watching an English team come to Celtic Park, throwing themselves all in, trying to get every foul.
But we weren't in it though, Liam. The honest truth was we weren't in it, mate.
The what?
We weren't in it though against Arsenal. In my opinion, over those 2 legs, that was the first time in nearly a decade I felt, wow, we're not even laying a glove. No. Do you know what I mean? Like, it wasn't their antics that cost us. We were just miles away from them. That was the first. I thought the soul's gone a wee bit here. That worried me.
I think I said it last week. This is a game as well where Gary Caldwell scores his 3rd own goal for Celtic in European football. He scored one against Benfica. He done it against Aalborg, and yeah, he did it against Arsenal. And this is a guy who, when he did that one against Benfica in 2006, he said that this is a learning curve for us. We'll learn from this. It's like, evidently, Gary Caldwell, you didn't fucking learn from it, because he always found himself in the wrong place at the wrong time. It was a cutback on the byline. It just hits off him into the net against Arsenal, and it's like, yeah, that doesn't help the cause at all, Gary. We're already up against it, and yeah, you're putting the ball in your own net, so yeah, we're out. And
was there a ton though? Celtic had lost their characters, they'd lost their bollocks. You know, even when we muddled our way through, see under Strack, and you look at that team, and we've talked about it a million times, how average it was. The boys had bollocks. And I think the Celtic team was still average, but nobody had any bollocks.
Aye, correct.
And it was like, this is now where you find yourself in utopia when it comes to European football, because not utopia. That's not utopia. No, yeah, like... I'm thinking like fucking like the middle of nowhere. Anyway,
Purgatory.
Something like that.
Yeah,
but like Siberia. That's what I meant. Siberia. Okay. Aye, you're in Siberia in terms of European football, because all the qualities you can bring to the table, regardless of your funding, regardless of the ability in players, you brought the passion, you brought the heart, you brought the atmosphere of Celtic Park. Just seemed to that Arsenal 2 legs. I went, fuck. Like, see, at the end of it, I never felt we were close. I never thought we were going to get through. You knew after 10 minutes against them, even at home, you went, yeah, they're just too good. And we don't have guys that are going to go to the cold face. Yeah. They're not going to roll their sleeves up. They ain't going to fucking bully them instead. We've not got it anymore. We've went for footballers against better footballers. Yeah. If you base it just on that science, very, very uphill battle you've got if you're a Scottish team.
Aye.
Because the resources you've got are so limited. They're so limited. Whereas you need to at times accept your limitations. You need to accept that your expenditure compared to an Arsenal, for example, is going to be financial disparity times 1,000,000. However, put a Paul Hartley in there, put a Barry Robson in there, and go, get fucking stuck in, drive us a wee bit, give us a wee kick up the arse, and you'd be amazed what it can do. I think Celtic had lost that altogether. Mark Rosas, they're at it.
When we scored our only goal over the 2 legs, we were already 5-0 down at that point. So yeah, it was right at the end of the second leg. But yeah, it was not a pretty performance over the 2 legs, and that was us. We were heading to the Europa League, but we'll get into that once we play the musical interlude, because that's just past the hour. Yeah, take a roll up our sleeves, boys, and take it on the chin, because we're going to get right into this, talking about Tony Mowbray's season. So yes, we shall be back in a couple of minutes, folks, and deep breath. Let's get into it.
When you've all that stuff at the start, they won't be playing Tina Turner on the coach on the way home, will they?
Some of his comments about me deliberately trying to cause controversy. Well, I work in the media now. And you've got someone sitting there next to you who's an embarrassment to the media profession. He's an apologist. He's a charlatan. He's a Rangers puppet. He's a cheerleader. That's what he is.
Oh, look at this. Look at this, Liam. He's slacking. Oh, here he comes. Here he
There he
comes.
is.
You're not escaping that easily, Russell. You're no escaping it.
Just been waiting in the back the whole time, man. Just wanted to do that late arrival drama.
Oh, okay. Keep his
No, I'm only joking. No.
Yeah, as I say, no escaping this one. We're going to have to just...
Shout out behind him.
Oh,
you fucker.
Aye.
What's that going on there, Liam?
Oh, just...
What is that?
Background for a painting I'm doing.
That's quality.
Oh.
I didn't know you were going to do a portrait of me, mate, but I really appreciate it.
Aye. It's always interesting, the stuff that's behind you, Liam. I say one of the most fascinating guys I've ever spoke to. Every time I learn something new, every time I interact with you, and some of the stuff you've got going on, some of the work you do with the art's phenomenal, mate. Absolutely phenomenal. Talent.
I showed you one of the films with one of I throw art parties in Vancouver, and it's out, it's underground, and I got all these eclectic artists, and it's weird. I had a reporter ask me what sort of people were there, and I listed them off. There was a Greek Orthodox priest, there was trans people, there was and I gave her this list, and then the last one was a Greek Orthodox priest. And I go, yeah, just your typical Tuesday. So we did them at Tuesday night, and they're absolutely brilliant. And there was a young artist from Glasgow there as well. He just met him for the first time, and he was a Celtic fan, so that was brilliant as well. Him and I got to talk a wee bit of football. So
nice, man. Good stuff. Getting that old networking going, but sounds like a very eclectic mix anyway. That party.
Right.
Oh man, but as I say, we're going to have to do it, guys. We'll have to just roll up our sleeves and do this, and we can't put it off any longer. People have been waiting for this one. Let's do it. So yes, we're going into Tony Mowbray's season 2009-2010, and yes, the saying that is synonymous with Tony Mowbray's time. They're taking it hard to take on the chin. Basically, we took it very hard on the chin. Funny enough, earlier on, I went on to Google and looked up the words Tony Mowbray taking it on the chin, and even at West Brom and Blackburn and Coventry, there's articles where he has said after a game when he's got beat, we just need to take it on the chin. It was like West Brom manager Tony Mowbray says his players have to learn to take it on the chin after defeat to Birmingham, and I'm like, he does it everywhere he goes. It's like his go-to line whenever he gets a bad result, and we certainly felt some bad results, although it didn't start terribly domestically, guys. We went up to Aberdeen and beat them 3-1 at Pittodrie in the opening game, and followed up with a pretty 5-2 victory over St Johnstone, and then went Easter Road and won 1-0. But we dropped our first points in a game with Dundee United at home, drawing 1 apiece. But overall, it's 10 points after 4 games. It's not exactly a disaster, but of course, the first game that really it starts to unravel is we play the first Glasgow derby of the season at Ibrox. And when I watched the highlights of this, and again, I remember one major incident in terms of a penalty claim that we had. Turns out in this game, we had 4 legitimate penalty claims. 3 of them get waved away by Craig Thompson, and 1 of them was actually given. We actually saw Sean Maloney and Mark Wilson get booked for diving as well. But we talk about bad refereeing performances. We spoke about John Beaton a few weeks ago, the infamous one in the treble season, where Alfredo Morelos did things like stood on Anthony Ralston and stuff and got away with it. But this game, the one that I think everyone remembers, and it's still to this day, I can't believe it wasn't given as a penalty. Sean Maloney gets to the ball first, and Davy Weir very clumsily sticks a leg out and fouls him. It's a penalty every single day. Nah, Craig Thompson didn't want to know, just waved it away. No, nobody cares, mate. A time when I think we're 1-0 down at that point. Kenny Miller got them 2-0 up. We did actually get a penalty to get back into it when Zheng Ji draws a foul out of Sasa Papic, and Aidan McGeady scores. But yeah, later in the game, Sean Maloney goes down again, gets booked for diving, and Mark Wilson, of all people, was booked for diving, trying to win a penalty as well. But yeah, when I was reading the Celtic wiki about it, like, it's generally one of the worst refereeing performances, and I'd forgotten about all the other penalty games. I just remember the one with Sean Maloney, the original one. But after the game, of course, instead of having a say about it, maybe speaking out about it, not Tony Mowbray just went, well, we just need to learn to take it on the chin. And this was us. We were off to the races. We're hearing that saying, but yeah, was the best that day. Some horrible memories of that one, Russell. Just I say it didn't help that the referee just was not having anything that day that we claimed.
Well, then it becomes what you want for your manager. You know, you want them crying for excuses, which is what Lenny would be alluded to being if he was calling out honest,
Honest mistakes.
opinion and going, look, that ain't fucking right. That's not what's happened. That is a wrong decision. He'd get leathered for it. Mowbray's trying to be all-encompassing of this sort of thing and go, oh, do you know what? We'll take it. We'll roll with the punches. We're going to be okay. And sometimes I just want a wee bit more.
Mm-hmm.
I want to know you're bothered. I want to know you feel the same fucking way I do watching that game. I want to know I'm not on planet fucking cuckoo land. The Fortuny one, I mean, is a joke.
Oh yeah, that's in the next one.
Sorry, no.
Oh, but no, you're right. We'll get to that one. That was a
apologies.
shocker.
No, I've jumped ahead. No, you're right. Okay, I don't know. I mean, I always remember on the Strachan the Lennon one, where he leaves the boy for dead. Neil Lennon just gets halved.
Mm-hmm.
But you can't do it in front of those fans. You just can't do it. They're scared to do it. I don't think it's so much that they all support Rangers, or they're all, they probably do. But I don't even see as much. I just think they're so afraid, Liam, to give that call at that ground. That's what gets me the most. The intimidation.
And it certainly works. I mean, look at Gerrard. As soon as he came in, he wanted to send a message to the referees that somehow that they've been unjust to us. First thing, and I don't know. I think we were too soft gloves. I always thought Peter Grant should have done more to sort of paint a better picture. But Mowbray was up here. He knows what the referees are like.
Exactly.
And you remember McGeady got sent off for simulation as well for diving.
Yep.
Like that year, like we talk about Bustalgia and all the time when we read the concerts and that. It'd be interesting to talk about who the referees were that year as well too, because they really.
Who's headlining Glastonbury with the referees?
What names? What list of names? That's it. Make a decision against them. The scrutiny they're under. Oh my God. With us, we're called paranoid and we just go on Super Scoreboard and listen to Laurie Fidenison, or something like that we're all paranoid. And then one decision goes against them and it's for weeks, they're having summits. People are getting dragged out their offices at 4 a.m. to, go and stamp something, listen to Rangers appeal or something. Is it?
Well, Liam, can I ask you this? Like, how important, like, for a football manager point of view, especially, is like body language? Because I don't know if you ever picked up on this when Mowbray was manager. He was never animated on the sidelines. See, when it was going wrong, he would just be leaning against the bench, just with his hands in his pockets, just doing nothing. You look at Lenny, who followed after him, even Strachan before him, Martin O'Neill. We talk about the Brendan Rodgers game when Simonovic gets sent off, and right away Rodgers is giving instructions to the players. Mowbray would always just be standing there, just like nothing, and I think that resonated with that team, because when it was going wrong, that's when you need your manager to have some influence. But he just never seemed. I remember early on in his tenure when we were having some bad results, you're like, he needs to show a wee bit more passion here, but instead he's just kind of like, it'll be fine, we'll just keep doing what we're doing, we'll get through it. So I don't know if you picked up on that, Liam, but that was always a worrying sign for me with Mowbray early on.
I mean that's a proper signal, it's that never give in to petrification. And it looks like you're petrified. When you're absolutely still, you're doing nothing. And that's petrification. Petrified that. And it's like, that. We're all smart football fans. This isn't a hobby for a lot of us. A lot of people understand and know a lot about football when we watch. And you're seeing someone handle a crisis by not doing anything, by inaction, just standing there. And it looks to us like he's okay. Is he okay with this, that? It just causes so many different questions to be asked. It's like, why aren't you concerned? Why aren't you fixing
Why are you not pissed off?
Just have to look like you've got the situation under some sort of control and that you're not frozen to that bloody post, Petrified.
Why are you not pissed off? I would simplify it all just to go, if you feel the same emotions as me, you bastard, you'll not be able to hide the animation that you speak of. Like, see, if you're not bothered, what are you doing here? Why are you here? And as you say, this isn't a guy who's in his first rodeo at Celtic.
Aye,
This
played
is
for
not
us in a
someone
terrible
coming.
time.
He knows the score.
No.
Like, and I think that frustrates. I think that was his undoing in the end. Was hold on now. This guy knows the movie he's signed. He's part of the script of, and yet, like, no, you're going to give us more than that. We need more than that. I want to know you care as much as we do. In fact, you don't need to give as much as that away. Just show me a wee bit, Tony, that you're on board here. Taking on the chin and us bullshit and us robotic stance at the side. That's not a man in control. It's a man with zero control.
Aye.
The character you're trying to perceive is a man going, I don't flinch. I don't flinch. You know, you can land as many shots on my chin as you want, but I don't flinch. Fuck off. You're flinching, mate. You ain't got the balls to actually deal with it.
That's what happens when you're a manager that just got relegated. You're rewarding failure. So you look at body by imagery and stuff like that. It's not hard to make a metaphor that all of a sudden not be the leader to motivate your troops into battle. It's somebody that's lost every fight he's ever been in. You know, his team.
Could not agree more. That's such a good point.
Aye.
No, Liam is spot on there because a good fight is a fight that you win, not a good fight that you put up.
Aye.
Fucking make sure you win.
Right.
He ain't had to win. He got beat. He got fucking trumped in that EPL and wins the biggest watch, the biggest Rolex you can.
Pod it's not points. Again, it's the pod it's not points mentality. Oh, he played such nice football. Oh, total football. And it's like, total relegation.
20th in the English Premier League and getting a club 10 times, 20 times, 30, 40 times the size of the club that you've just relegated.
Yep.
What's the point in changing your attitude? This all obviously works somehow. Let's just try and stay under the cloak.
Oh, bizarre. I'll
tell you this, if folk don't want to hear it, it's the fucking reality is John Collins went to Hibs and won that League Cup final. And they can all moan about John Collins telling professional footballers how to look after yourself. He was right. He wasn't wrong. See when he pricks like Kevin Thompson wants to put you to look for jobs way above his station. There's a reason you left Celtic Hearts, mate, because too many people have told you you're the bollocks. Look at you trying to get a job. See when everyone goes, I'm a nice guy, I'm a really nice guy, Phil.
I was literally about to say that, I'm a nice guy.
Everyone really likes me, Shy. Everyone likes me. Everyone thinks I'm a really great guy. Right, you're obviously a wanker. John Collins knew how to carry the wanker card. But he could back it up and go, here's my body of evidence. Here's my work. I worked under Tigana at Monaco. We got the Champions League semi-finals. I played with Trezeguet, Henry, Pitti, Barthez. Barthez is really a point of reference. But in general, he's like, you want to see some good players?
Aye.
I'll tell you how they got there. And it was the fucking Lurpak. It was olive oil, baby. And that is what you need to fucking get into. And you're going to need to start changing your mindset. He got them nearly there with the League Cup. He won the League Cup and then they all turned on him. We got there ourselves.
And ended up with Mixu Pat Line as manager. Aye.
Collins would have been the better fit for Celtic in 2009 than what Tony Mowbray was.
That's fair.
A winner. A fucking winner.
Aye. Oh, fair shot. That's a fantastic shout. And his name was even in the reckoning at that point. But yeah, we're stuck with Mowbray. As I say, we've just lost at Ibrox and the results didn't get much better after that. We followed up with a 0-0 draw at home to Motherwell. We were playing Falkirk a few weeks later in Falkirk. We were 3-2 up with 3 or 4 minutes to go. Ended up drawing 3-3. A few weeks after that, we lose 2-1 to Dundee United at Tannadice for them scoring a 90th minute winner. And midway through December, we lose 2-1 to Hearts as well at Tynecastle. So it's not going well. In amongst this, Hearts also knocked us out of the League Cup. Michael Stewart scored the penalty to beat us 1-0 and knocked us out of the League Cup. So we're out there. And in amongst all this domestic forum, this shaky domestic forum, we have a very, very underwhelming European campaign. We're in what I would say looks like a pretty favourable group in the Europa League with Hamburg, Hapoel Tel Aviv and Rapid Vienna. But yeah, we pay the price for just not getting points on the board early on. We lose away to Hapoel. We can't beat Rapid Vienna at Celtic Park. We draw 1-1. We lose to Hamburg at Celtic Park in match day 3. We get a 0-0 draw in Hamburg, which seems like a decent result. But even when we win 2-0 against Hapoel in game day number 5, we're actually officially knocked out by that point. And there's no Conference League. There's no third tier. We don't drop down for finishing third. We draw 3 each with Rapid Vienna in the last game away in Austria, but yeah, it was off nothing. So we registered a win that ended up being a dead rubber. Curiously enough, and I forgot this, Hapoel Tel Aviv won that group with 12 points. Actually, Rapid Vienna finished bottom of the group and we were third, but yeah, we were out after 5 games, so not exactly the best of performances. And as I say, what I felt was quite a favourable group when we drew that. But then, of course, up comes the next Glasgow derby, and at this point in time, we're a bit all over the place. Had all these shaky results. It also felt like Tony Mowbray was constantly chopping and changing the team, particularly the centre-back pairing. Now, given he played as a centre-back, you think he would value how important that position is. I've talked before on Bustalgia about when Neil Lennon was manager. At one point in time, he had Brown, Kyle, Key, Wanyama, and Joe Ledley as his 5 midfield options because he played as a centre midfielder as a player, so he could identify a good centre mid. But some of the defensive pairings wasn't helping. The Boric and Zaluska were seeming to rotate around as well because maybe Boric was at a forum or a fitness issue. Zaluska would get a start. But yeah, it wasn't like the 3 years previous. We had Caldwell and McManus played pretty much every game together. You had Leuven's getting rotated in. Darren O'Day get rotated in. Josh Thompson found himself like a deer in the headlights in a lot of games, being thrown in there. So the centre-back pair, we talk about Ange at the moment, doesn't really break up Starfelt and Carter Vickers because he knows how important the centre-back pairings are. But yeah, Mowbray chopped and changed the centre-back so much because he was just throwing things against the wall, hoping it would stick. And it wasn't working at all. But yeah, we head into the next meeting with Rangers on January the 3rd, 2010. We trail them by 7 points. And we have a game in hand. So it really is win or bust at this point. You know, we get it back to 4 points with a game in hand. Things look a bit more favourable with the January window about to open. And as you hinted to earlier on, Russell, this is the game when Marc-Antoine Fortuny scores a perfectly good goal. I think Neil Alexander might be in goal for Rangers in this one, but he goes for a cross. Fortunately, gets there first, nods it past him. Referee disallows it.
Yes. But the thing was, it's death by 1,000 cuts by this point.
Mm-hmm.
Tony Mowbray Celtic were never going to win that league. The hope that kills you, remember that quote that we love throwing at them? That would have been what we were that year if we'd won that game. It's 4 points again. You know, there's a chink of light. No, there wasn't. Mm-hmm. That team under Mowbray was never, ever, ever going to win a league title. Mm-hmm. It's the reality. Shit saying it. It's a Celtic team. We all should be proud of every Celtic team. Mm-hmm. We all knew deep down we ain't winning the league with this Muppet in charge. Love Mowbray for a lot of things. When it comes to management, not my boy. Not my type. And I think it would have delayed the inevitable. I'll quickly say a big shout out to Pam. Pamtastic, as San Fan Celtic calls her. Two wordplays there. I think Pam's been dishing out memberships. So thank you, Pam. And I hope you're well.
Thank you very much, Pam.
We'll try and do a wee giveaway soon for the members as well. That'll be next on the agenda.
Yeah,
I'd love to see it be VIP hospitality with a wee fella.
That's a prize? That would go with what?
It's going to be a bottle of my fucking hair dye, and I'll sign it.
But thank you very much, Pam. And yeah, we always appreciate when people let us know because on StreamYard, they do not let us know about these things. If somebody buys a membership individually,
you've got to surmise it by the comments.
Yeah, you just have to guess, aye. So thank you very much, Pam.
Reality is that Mowbray team wasn't winning the league title, regardless of what happened to Celtic Park that night.
That was a team that just had no chemistry with each other. There's a lot of arguing on the park at that time. Remember, Scott McDonald and Samaras were always moaning at each other. And I think affected everybody's game. Barry Robson, he was a moaner. You know, like Caldwell always looked like he was moaning his head off. You know, Borak, you know,
we needed pricks again. We needed pricks.
What?
We needed more pricks.
We needed an identity, and that wasn't a Celtic team. It was somebody trying to do the same sums, but you know.
I agree. I totally agree.
It wasn't putting together a Celtic team where you get, you know, people that can take the pressure, understand that, you know, you can't go away and lose to Hearts. You can't. That's not how we play. We have to be up for every single game, and I don't think he was a passionate man that could do that. And I don't think somehow Peter Grant couldn't be that either, you know.
I think if you look at Peter Grant's coaching record, managerial record, he is the jinx. Everywhere he goes, mate, he does shit. I mean, as an assistant, or as a first-team coach, or as a manager. I like listening to Peter Grant. I'm jealous of his hairline, but the guy is fucking clearly a jinx. He's hopeless. Tommy Burns probably would look back at his time in charge of Celtic and go, "It was him." Peter Grant is just this mad jinx, man.
Did Mowbray take him anywhere after, like, he left us when Mowbray went to, like, Coventry and Blackburn? Was Peter Grant with him? I know Martinez
but he ended up at West Ham, first team coach.
Was he not Alloa manager a few years ago?
Like utterly dreadful with him. Like utterly dreadful. Got sacked.
Oh dear.
That was meant to be where Jack Ross had been.
It's future Celtic manager as well.
And then it was Barry Ferguson was there, platform, and there was someone else as well. And my favourite, Jim Goodwin. He was Alloa as well. So there was like a conveyor belt. Peter Grant goes in there.
The common denominator here is Peter Grant.
I hate and my dad loved Peter Grant. My dad loved Peter Grant. I'm like, I think he's a hex, man.
Thank you, wee Mitch.
Wee Mitch.
Thank you very much.
Welcome aboard, mate. Yes.
Yeah, get on the bus, mate. Cause no fuss. Grab your seat.
Get above yourself. It don't cost much. Top man.
But yeah, this game after the disallowed goal, Liam, do you remember how this game played out? It was very, very akin to a game we would have watched in the 90s with Celtic, where we threw everything at them, but just couldn't find a goal. But with 10 minutes to go, Scott McDonald comes off. I think he came off the bench in this game, and he scores a header for close range. Aidan McGeady does well out wide, crosses it in, and he nods it in at the near post. And with 10 minutes to go, you're like, okay. So now Russell's probably right, and obviously hindsight, but it's like, well, it was a hope that would have killed us if we did win the game. Oh yes, we've still got a chance. But of course, at that point in time, living in the moment in the stadium, absolute bedlam. We've dominated the game. We're a goal up with 10 minutes to go. Come on, this is it. This turns around now. This is the moment where our season starts. The lead lasted about 60 seconds, and Lee McCulloch equalised up the other end, and it was like, oh, for fuck's sake, this is so typical.
Can I just say something, right? I've made the decision. Blue Baron, thank you for your tenure. Thank you for your time. I wish you all the best in your future endeavours. It's just got to that time, mate, where I say, get off the bus. See you later, son. Fucked. Not done that in ages.
I haven't done that in a while.
No, fuck him.
Oh, well.
He's getting cheeky about, do you still play 2001 manager? You were watching, mate. Cheers for the ad revenue, you prick. 17 pence you made me, you bastard. Buy a programme on the way out, you cunt. Fucking little twat. That's me done with these pricks. You know what I mean? Yeah. Done with that. It's time to cause some anarchy again, Liam. I'm sick of being nice with everyone. We've got to get over that shit. We're a rock and roll band. No. You can go fuck yourself. You can go sit there and watch for the rest of the night. Wee Bob McBob, whatever his name is, Blue Baron. Bye-bye. Bye-bye, Rangers. Bye-bye, Blue Baron as well.
Fair play, man. Fair enough, man.
I'm back in this.
Yeah, you're back. There you go. You're not a Tony Mowbray. You're not a Tony Mowbray. You're
Bring
not a nice
back
guy.
these days, Liam. It's time we start tearing it up again. Do you know what I mean? All I need the wee fellas just to fucking, I don't know, clip his fingernails in front of me again sometimes. So I'm going to fucking leather him and all. I mean, verbally.
Okay.
Forget chucked off there.
But yeah, Liam McCulloch equalised with 10 minutes to go after we took the lead and we threw it away. We're still 7 points behind. But yeah, it was just one of those days, Liam, that we were so used to seeing in the 1990s where we threw everything at them and it just didn't happen. We were so used to it at this point. It was a throwback, sadly.
I hated it as well. Hated just the way he just strode past everybody. Everybody just watched, tucked in the net. It wasn't like one person made mistakes. Everybody just watched them. They started running, you know. And by the way, this is a dark secret of mine, but I dated his auntie, and I had him. We took him to Canada's Wonderland, and I was up in a Ferris wheel with him. And
right.
I'd go back in time, I'd have flung him right off that Ferris wheel.
Oh my God. Fuck it. How different his life could have been if you'd done that. Oh my God.
Oh, I think you miss, you know.
Yeah,
So
but you're right in what you're saying is analysis, because it was a corner kick and we were doing that thing that I think carried over for Strachan, where we were marking zones rather than marking people, and he was just allowed to ghost in there and score. And then after that, the results didn't really get much better. We dropped points in a 1-1 draw with Falkirk, and it wasn't looking good. Rangers were 9 points clear. Celtic would then lose to Hibernian in late January at Celtic Park. However, Rangers actually drew that night. It was a chance for us to close the gap a wee bit. We blew that. So Rangers, despite losing on that night, actually found themselves 10 points in front. But hey, we still had the game in hand, so you've got to keep that in mind. And hey, the January window's open, guys. Something's got to change. Well, things were about to change in a big way for this Celtic team, because obviously last week I talked about the 2009 January window. Peter Lawwell does his interview after it and talks about it's a dead market. We tried to buy and nobody wanted to take our money. Oh, we couldn't sell, we couldn't buy anyone. Nobody wanted to give us any players. Well, fast forward 12 months to the 2010 January window, and it is quite the opposite. So here is the list of players who left Celtic in that window: Gary Caldwell, Barry Robson, Willo Flood, Chris Killen, Killian Sheridan, Stephen McManus, Danny Fox, Mark Brown, Ben Hutchison, Graham Carey, Scott Fox, and Scott McDonald all left. And coming in that January window was Ki-Sung Young, Jos Højveld, Thomas Rogner, Morten Rasmussen, Diamante Kamara, Edson Braffide, Paul Slane, and most crucially, Robbie Keane came in that window. I say, polar opposite to what we were told a year before about how the January window is a dead market and it's so hard to do business. Well, evidently Celtic had just got to the point where we just need to throw everything at it here and hope something sticks. And obviously the marquee man there is Mr. Robbie Keane. I mentioned this before when we did the loans signings. I was one of the many who went down to Celtic Park that night to see Robbie Keane get unveiled. I was there till about 1 a.m. There must be about good 3,000, 4,000 fans outside Celtic Park. And the excitement, the buzz was incredible. Many people came away from it thinking, right, this is it. This is our season starts now. We know what we need to do. We've got a game in hand tomorrow night against Kilmarnock. We win that. We get it back to 7 points. We still get 2 games against them. We've just signed Robbie Keane. This is it. The season starts now. How were you feeling, Russell, when Robbie Keane walked up? Did you think at the time, yeah, this is a Craig Bellamy moment, perhaps?
No. I felt we were flogging a dead horse. I remember at the time going, this is reactionary Celtic at its best. This is all virtue signalling bullshit. Mm-hmm. Where was this adrenaline? Where was this momentum? Where was this purpose in the summer? Wasn't there. It was not there. You didn't even get your first choice manager. So don't bullshit me. I never felt it was close. I never at any point thought Robbie Keane's came in, we're going to win the league.
Mm-hmm.
Never.
Yep, that's fair.
I don't know how you felt. I thought it was a wonderful thing that he signed, but for me that is keeping your customer base on board. That's the way I see it, Liam. It was, do you know what I mean?
I agree.
It's like,
I bought into it. I loved it. I loved the buzz. Everything I said earlier about Tony Mowbray and that being like an unimaginative appointment. Well, for me, that window turned everything around. I was buzzing. I remember phoning Richie in Scotland, just got somebody to talk about it, because I thought it was an absolutely unreal window that we were bringing in quality, and that looked like intent. And like, okay, well, maybe that was just a hiccup. I think it bought Mowbray a lot of time. Well, not really, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But
yeah,
it brought some of that good vibe that had been sucked up with the stupid draws and losing daft points and and shite Europe and that and so it was like, okay, I felt we were turning a corner. Let's see what he can do.
I just felt it was too little too late. I felt as well, see if you've got the courage of convictions to go get EPL players like Kamara, top player in the EPL, by the way. He was a very good player there.
He was good,
This was no one's reserve. This was a player. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Robbie Keane, household name.
Yeah.
Go get them last summer. Back your manager. The reality is you didn't back Mowbray at the beginning because you didn't really believe in him either. He's not the guy you want in situ. It was all virtue signalling bullshit by the end. And StuTube says, wasn't Keane a Desmond signing? Yes, because it was reactionary.
Yeah.
This is Celtic at their best under Lawwell. They react. They don't proact. They react. That's what they did. And folk don't want to accept that at times, and it's just unfortunate one of the realities. We've ended up where you've got a young fan base conditioned to think trebles are life. Whereas we were a generation fading away from, wait now, like, what about, remember we used to compete in Europe and we like beating Rangers was a good Rangers team was fun. Now it's one that's signed a loan players they're only signing and they're miles away from us. No, the ball got dropped. And that January window tells you, as you say, compare it in contrast with the one the year before.
Yep.
Fucking disgraceful. The narrative they put out, it's tricky workout, it's not one we can work. But yeah, if we actually need to, I mean, season tickets soon, watch us go.
Yep.
And it's like, Robbie Keane, that would have been impossible for a position of strength. Yeah, it's possible when the shit has hit the fan. The shit that's hitting the fan is too scattered by now to even resolve it. But in terms of the actual personnel, I found the Brad Fight one on paper, again, a pretty compelling signing. You let Danny Fox go, I think we made 500 grand profit. I know Ange talks about flipping players, but even he's like, wow.
That was an
Danny
extreme
Fox
one.
on, mate. Fucking hell, even I wouldn't have done that, mate. Fucking hell. 6 months. 500 grams of the profit was, Ange. Fuck. Ruthless bastards. But notwithstanding that, you bring in a Dutch international and you go, he should do well.
You would think so. Bayern Munich. Aye.
And then you get big Diamante Kamara, remember the celebration?
Oh, yeah.
I always think he could have sang One More Time by Daft Punk when he used to do that. That's always came in my head.
Yeah.
One more time.
I just remember him scoring at East End Park in the Bumblebee kit, and he did that celebration. It was a great goal against Dunfermline in a cup game. Aye. It was the old Bumblebee. But I would say this window, what it turned out to be, was a good advert for quality over quantity, because when you look at the way some of these signings turned out and the number of players that we brought in, it was just like crazy. But yeah, see, Robbie Keane, he is the marquee signing. He signed to Liverpool a year before. Didn't quite work out, and he was back at Spurs, who
club of his dreams.
There, yeah,
another club of his dreams.
Another club of his dreams, and then he comes to Celtic, his boyhood club of his dreams. But of course, he wasn't doing this out of the kindness of his heart, as it was alluded to. He was very much bankrolled by Dermot Desmond. I want to say in the region of 60,000+ a week, I believe it was. Am I right or wrong in that one?
Nobody cares, mate.
Nobody cares. Nobody cares. Because it didn't work.
It's all bullshit, isn't it? It's all smoke and mirrors. Celtic can afford it when they want to afford it, and they need to get fans back on side. And then we'll condition you when you're successful. They can't afford fuck all. We're currently told we couldn't afford Jordan Larson, for fuck's sake, because the wage structure at the club, which is less than what it was 20 years ago. And we're like, but we're winning the treble, sound. Like, we're fucking like Pinocchio, man, on strings. Do you know what I mean? Sick of it, man. We go, we turn shy. We turn shy. And we find 65 grand.
Conveniently just under the couch.
15 years ago. Yeah, if you told someone we were going to pay 65 grand a week, they'd think it was coming out their own piggy bank. I think I was going to ruin someone's house.
We'll go bankrupt.
And robbing it from them. It's fucking mental.
But anyway, he's came in, and we've got a game in hand tomorrow night, and the way it stands against Kilmarnock. And I say the mission is clear at this point in time. We win that game in hand, we get back 7 points. We get 2 games to go against them. Robbie Keane's now here. He's going to score as a goal. He's going to fire us to glory. What could possibly go wrong? Well, what a difference 24 hours makes. Because see that game in hand against Kilmarnock, literally the very next night, it was the first in a disastrous series of events that would lead us up to a painful night in Paisley. Because, yeah, we went down to Rugby Park, hopefully to get the 3 points, and we lost. Robbie Keane didn't really. He had a few chances, but never really looked in the game. Unfortunately, Robbie Keane,
as long as he kissed his tattoo a couple of times, no?
Oh, of course. But he can't obviously sort the defensive issues at the back, sadly. It's all well and good bringing in this marquee striker, but sadly the defence was still at 6 and 7s. Kelly score on the counter-attack and hold on to beat us 1-0. So, yeah, the first in what would be a disastrous series of events coming up because, yeah, it was not exactly how we envisioned it going after the big unveiling. And say Rangers did have a drop points tomorrow as we beat Hearts 2-0 in the next fixture to once again make it an 8-point gap. So once again, it was hope that was killing us because we're like, okay, we had a blip against Kilmarnock, but they've dropped some points again, and we've got a win against Hearts. We're back in it now. But just a few weeks later, Celtic had a catastrophic display at Pittodrie. We were 4-2 up with 10 minutes to go and ended up drawing 4 each. I believe this is a game that many fans remember Edson Braffide for just basically going walkabout at back post a few times for like crosses and that, just missing his marker and whatnot. So yeah, that was that game. We ended up drawing 4 apiece with Aberdeen. And in reality, I think finally set in. Many fans were just kind of put out their misery. So say there's a hope that kills them. We played Rangers in the 3rd Glasgow derby of the season at Ibrox. In the end of February, and yeah, we've been 0-0 heading into stoppage time. Morissadu scored, and that was effectively game, set, and match in the season. I think many fans had to just put their hand up and go, "Aye, it's over now." Even though mathematically it's not over at that point, but yeah, it's probably. Yeah, he clearly is. But yeah,
that is embarrassing, man. Like he comes back from the wilderness. Oh, do you know what? I'm just on such a roll. Do you know what? Oh, fuck you, Bob. You can fuck off and all. You're blocked. See you later, son. Yeah, that's it. Bob and Blue Baron, the same person.
Same person.
See you later. Do you know what? It's like when Mikey Johnson came back for that injury. Fuck off. I want to play this game all night, Liam. Go send me up some people that fucking annoy me, right? Because I'm ready to block everyone. You know what I mean?
But this game, unfortunately, it's a shocker of a game we end up losing. But Liam, this is one that we spoke about a few weeks when we did the Scott Brown show. You were on that one, but basically this is after he's got the captaincy officially. People actually forget Tony Mowbray actually gave him the captaincy after the January window because we let McManus go. He was a club captain and off he pops, so he gave it to Scott Brown. But yeah, that first Glasgow derby where he's captain, he gets sent off for the tussle with Kyle Lafferty, where Lafferty kind of oversells it, but it's like, oh man, of all the things happening. Also, Liam, you'll remember this is the game where Majid Bugera basically gets free reign to just do whatever he wants all over the Ibrox pitch that day. I think it's the game where he gives the wee wink to the Ibrox bench, like, I'm getting away with everything.
Well, that is a right fucking Schneider right there.
That is a Schneider, yeah.
The wee Wesley.
No, him, big bloody Majid. He's a Schneider.
Oh no, Wesley Schneider in the Eredivisie. Come on, guys. He's a great player, Wesley Schneider, PSV Eindhoven.
It's amazing. The referees always appoint. They get one magic Rangers player that just gets like immunity. You know, it's like you remember Lethal Weapon, diplomatic immunity. You know, you can't touch me. And
Gary Brown gifted a membership.
Top man, Gary. Thank you, mate. Sorry, Liam, mate. Sorry.
So yeah, another one of them.
Aye.
I was going to say
just another one, but that day Bugera was just kicking Robbie Keane in particular all over the place. Keane couldn't get into the game, and at this point we're just relying on him to just do everything to save us, and he can't accommodate for bad defensive mistakes and so on. But yeah, we end up going down 1-0 at Ibrox, losing, and it's pretty much over now. We need to just accept it. Many fans had to just take it as I say. just take it on the chin, as Tony Mowbray would say. You know, this was the reality setting in. But things were about to get worse.
Forget with Tony Mowbray. He didn't just say take on the chin, right? I don't know if you remember, Liam, right? He used to be obsessed with the word football.
Yeah, right.
Sure, you usually get the football players and the football pitch, and you know when we try to do a football strategy on the football team with the football club, and I'm like, stop saying football all the time, you fucking weirdo. You're doing my boxing. The guy's obsessed with the word football. Football players in the football pitch, and you know when it gets difficult in the football pitch, and we get tricky situation with the football team. Stop saying football. Fucking weird, man.
That's a fair observation that you pointed out.
Fucking true, man.
Aye.
I think it's like you've never seen one before.
Oh man! No, now if I ever see any interviews with Tony Mowbray, I'm going to be
Wait
aware
till
of that.
you
I'll be
hear him
acutely
says
aware
football.
of it. Yeah, I will.
Footballers, Liam. You know, football pitches and footballers in Canada. Football. Shut up! You fucking twat. Get on with managing the team. Honestly, yeah, he made Scott Brown captain. I think Scott Brown saved him. I think Scott Brown went, here's that armband, you clown. You don't even know what you're doing with that, do you? Spinning it around his finger like that. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Catch a football by his toe. No, mate. No. Scott Brown's like, geez it. I'll be captain.
I was thinking the same, Paul Dye. I was like, Tony Mowbray's got a wee bit Dutch there, a wee bit
Eredivisie. That's not fire. That's not fire. If you want to talk about the Dutch, the Eredivisie.
But after the defeat,
all the time, man.
He did. If I ever watch any clips, I'll definitely be aware of it more now. But yeah, after that loss at Ibrox, last minute heartbreak. You think, well, could it really get much worse after this? And unfortunately, yes, it could. Because Celtic on the 24th of March 2010 would travel to Paisley to play St Mirren. Relegation fodder St Mirren. This is how bad St Mirren were at that point in time. They were 1 point above Falkirk, who were bottom of the league. They were second bottom when we travelled there. Effectively at the title race, it was basically a game just win, just for pride, essentially, just to keep motoring along and delay the inevitable that they're going to win the league. And yeah, a surreal scoreline to even think about, but it ended St Mirren 4, Celtic 0. I mean, it goes without saying it's up there as one of the worst results we've had in this century, along with like Inverness and Clyde, and going further back, looking at teams like Raith Rovers beating us in that cup final. That St Mirren result is an absolute fucking whopper, and it's like that was the night when it was over. Because again, going back to body language, Liam, that I was talking about earlier on, he wasn't standing up like leaning against the bench. He was actually sat like this at times during the game, and
seen football 100 times.
Just sat like that, just looking at it all, and it's like, you're the manager, you need to try and influence the players, but instead when you're just sitting like this, it's like, you know it's over. And the full-time whistle came, I just was like, it is over. There's no way he can survive this. The pain is over. He's got to go now. He has to. But I suppose you've definitely felt in that same way, Liam, where like, he can't survive this. This cannot be, he cannot stay on.
It was almost like a sense of relief, but you don't like to see players giving up on a manager, and it looked like they'd given up on a manager. And that was new players. Some of them had only been in the door 3 months. You know, and that just shows that he wasn't the right guy. You know, for them to come out and say, we got our man, they should be fucking embarrassed about that looking back in retrospect, because what they valued in that man was not what worked for Celtic Football Club. And so, you know, that's the difference between money men and football men. And at that point, they showed up every single bit like money men when they employed Tony Mowbray. And he couldn't get players to follow him into battle. And, you know, and we're Celtic. We have to battle for everything we get. So he didn't have the fight, and he couldn't get the players to fight. And they responded.
They did. I mean, that night, absolutely
nailed it. Liam just nailed it.
Yep. Oh, he has. He sort of, the fight was completely gone. The tactics were non-existent. Aidan McGeady finished that game playing it right back that night, if you remember. It was just an absolute shit show, and you just knew there was just that sense of inevitability. It's over.
So now let's look back. Good result, a bad result for Celtic?
Well, in hindsight, it turns out it's a good result because of what came and what came next, because it had to end. It had to. He couldn't survive. He couldn't survive that. Thank you very much, David McMenemy. Thank you very much for the donation. Yes, indeed. Yes.
See, to me, if Mowbray doesn't fuck it at Paisley, we don't get the glove wearing, shaved, headed, lunatic, furious that he can't do it on the park anymore, but ready to remind the world, even if they are a bunch of pansies, watch them turn into my pansies. Watch me go.
Watch them.
And Lennon, again, we've just spoke the whole show, and this is why I've teed this all up. I teed the whole thing up. The players didn't have it. They were all cut different. We've all agreed.
Yeah, but
funny how we get to the last 8 games of the season. No transfer window required. Neil Francis Lennon starts going, Kim, what? See, even for a wee pansy, I'm going to set you on fire right now. Watch you grow. Let's go. He turns them all into animals, mate, in that league campaign. It's nothing to play for. 8 wins out of 8. And that shaved head with the big scar down the back of it, and he's wearing gloves in April. The whole thing is just like, he looks a bit fucking mental, doesn't he? But I tell you what, he's not saying the word football 14 times a minute. He's not leaning against goalposts going, well, hopefully the football players will sort out this football match. He's sitting there going, I'll do it myself at the side. And he's going tonto. And I just think Neil Lennon, he just fucking injected some sort of bollocks into that team again.
Because he understood, you know, like he couldn't get his head round players would be so abject playing for Celtic. He couldn't get his head round it. And thank you very much, Sam Fan Celtic. Thank you. $15 coming in there. I appreciate it massively. But yeah, that was a thing with Lennon. He understood more than what Mowbray did of like what it meant to play for this club. And he couldn't believe some of the performances the players have been putting in. And yeah, it's just a case of do you realise who you're playing for? Do you realise what that badge means? Just inject that into the players and look at the difference of what happened. However, I do remember the quite sensational moment the next morning after the debacle in Paisley, because I was keeping tabs on the BBC website that morning while I was in my work checking it, and it was like the news ticker, and it said before 9 a.m. that Tony Mowbray had already arrived at Lennoxtown, had a meeting with the players. It said he had no intention of going anywhere. Then it was like at 9 a.m. Peter Lawwell had arrived at Lennoxtown, and by 9:25 a.m. Tony Mowbray had been relieved of his duties. But there was a point that morning where Tony Mowbray had actually said to the players, he had no intention of going anywhere. And it's like, nah, mate, nah, you are not staying. I mean, it's all well good believing in yourself, but it ain't working, mate. You've got to just do the right thing.
Scott Brown shining at that captain's armband at the time going, did you, aye?
That's all right, aye. Aye.
I'll see you later, son. And I don't remember this, Shell. You can maybe enlighten me. But it turns out Lenny brought the Thai deer back to Celtic. I mean, I don't even remember him bringing a deer back, let alone one for Thailand, Shell. I know you mean thunder. I'm just playing.
Yeah. Good old predictive text. But do you remember this? And I've seen it come up in the comments earlier on. At the start of the season, obviously, Neil Lennon would be on the coaching staff under Strachan and had stayed on. And I think it was an idea that he was going to be part of the first team coaching, but Tony Mowbray basically banished him to work with the under-21s for the season. So Neil Lennon had been in the background working with the youth team, essentially. He was still at the club. But yeah, there was somebody said something earlier on the chat about there was some sort of incident where like Lenny was like late for the bus or something like that, and he was him and Mowbray had a falling out. But yeah, he was basically the youth team coach or working with the youth team.
They are yin and yang, no, Liam.
Well, you know,
Tony Mowbray's vision of football and Neil Lennon's are two separate things. There's ideology and there's winning.
Yeah, well, I'll give you the other. And Phil talked about it earlier, about body language. Look at the shift in the optics as soon as Lenny comes in charge. We're bringing back the thunder. We're getting noisier. He's running, you're managing the other side. He's wearing his Dignatius brogues and a shirt and tie, and Lenny's running about looking like the Boston Strangler with his gloves and all that. But he's animated, he's passionate, and it's like, and you can see he's giving the players shit. He's out on his touchline, and you see right away as a supporter, okay, he's involved, he's invested, and you want to see passion. There's fucking nothing worse in life than going through it with no passion in your life, And I liked that about Lenny, and I think a lot of us identified with that type of behaviour. That it wasn't ungrooming or all the bullshit people said about Lennon.
Liam, listen.
Back in the touchline,
striking the distance himself with the Celtic support. Remember, he had spent his final 18 months at Celtic almost being contrarian for the sake of being contrarian with us, getting more smart ass. Yes, you've done very well, Strachan, but there's stuff that your eyes cannot not see, and you're kidding on it's not there. And instead of realising your failures or accepting the reality in front of you, you're trying to be a fucking smart ass all the time. He had lost the supporters' base. Tony Mowbray did fuck all to recoup that. A basic people skill would have been everything Strachan didn't do for the last 18 months, I'll do in terms of face to camera, in terms of PR. Mowbray refused to play ball. He went even more into he didn't want to be even clever. He didn't want to be entertaining. He just went. He hid. When he became everything, and then suddenly it was like, it's the O'Neill era back. And I think Lenny knew he was playing on that. I think Lenny knew, I know what these fans make this generation of fans tick. See the guys that maybe my age now, 30s, 35s, they grew up in their 20s, the first ever season ticket money off their own wage was watching us doing certain things and doing certain things right. And that might have been, at times, not the best football in the world. Albeit O'Neill's team was fantastic, but it might have been they knew what they were getting off us every day. See their wage, we fucking earned it off them. Whatever they paid to that season ticket, we earned their crust because we fucking give everything. And see, when that becomes your basic remit in life, run, work your bollocks off, take the black eye, take the bruised leg. You know what I mean? Get involved. Start realising who the fuck it is you're representing. Neil Lennon brought that back. Don't annoy me. Neil Lennon can't manage.
Well, funny enough, with you saying that, there's an instance that's going to be coming up in this run of games that he's got that pretty much epitomises that. Because, he's got 8 league games left. And remember, obviously, with that night that we lost in St Mirren 4-0, on the same night, Rangers get knocked out the Scottish Cup by Dundee United. So Celtic are in the final 4 of the Scottish Cup at this point. So they might win something for their troubles, despite it being quite a miserable season. Neil Lennon can round off the season with 8 league wins and pick up the Scottish Cup. It's something that's not exactly what we set out for at the start of the season, but given how it's fucking went, we'll take it at this stage. And I mean, Rangers are out the competition. What could possibly go wrong there? So he starts obviously with a couple of league wins over Kilmarnock and against Hibs, but then that Scottish Cup semi-final rolls around. And it's not even a game that I'll look back on and go, we pounded them that day, we just couldn't score. We were so abject. And a minute ago, you're talking about the passion. Now, when Tony Mowbray was losing games, he would do the same monotone, robotic interview after the game. Oh, the players need to take it on the chin and move on. Not Neil Lennon, though, even though he's only the caretaker manager. He cut an absolutely, I'll use a wrestling term, he cut a scathing promo after that game. It said things like, there's players in this team that will never play for this club again. And to be fair, given the overhaul that happened in the summer, he was quite accurate in that one because we were so abject. When I think back to it, it's like, I can't remember us having any decent chances. We just phoned it in against Ross County. Maybe the players were too arrogant that day because it's a lower league side. But Neil Lennon, despite being caretaker and no guarantees that he's getting the job full time, he went to town on them after the game. And of course, it's on him. He's the guy that's going to be associated as the manager of that game. But if Tony Mowbray was still in charge, he would have probably just went, we just need to take it on the chin and move on. And it's like, no, we shouldn't be fucking this. We should not be accepting results like that. Neil Lennon, in that short time right away, showed more passion for the job and what was involved in to be a Celtic manager than what Tony Mowbray showed in 9 months. It was incredible. The interview, a terrible, terrible result. But at that moment, you're like, he's saying what needs to be said. Neil Lennon is spot on in what he's saying here.
Yeah. It's like you can shove your technical football up your arse. That's what it was like. Take all your take all that stuff, and I'll find boys with passion and desire that will run through a wall to get that ball and get that ball into the net. And that's how we play at Celtic. And
I tell you what, I think he knew deep down. He goes, Tony fucking Mowbray, no offence, what clout has he got? He's got no clout. He says, whether you like it or whether you don't, I'm Neil Lennon. EPL player for years at Leicester City, 2 Coca-Cola cups, Worthington cups, whatever they fucking wear. He's like, I've got pals. I've got links. See, when I go in that summer, I'm not going to just do what Liam's just said there and bring in boys with the bollocks. I'm going to bring boys that have actually got a wee bit of stature, a wee bit of, as I say, clout in the game. Not fannies like Fortuny who's been in the EPL for 2 minutes. You know what I mean? A clue.
A striker that doesn't score goals. Fucking hell, man. Oh, the signs were there. But yeah, we obviously lose that game to Ross County, but the 6 remaining league games, we do get the victories there, including a victory over Rangers, which while many will say it's a dead rubber, wasn't a fucking dead rubber to Neil Lennon? No fucking way. No game against Rangers is a dead rubber to him, but that's the one when Lee Naylor scores a deflected free kick, and Marc-Antoine Fortuny does finally get his goal against Rangers, and he can do his wee signing celebration that he used to do, right about me now, or whatever it was, and it's like,
wait. Barry Lyndon comes in. Look, now Barry's very important, guys. Remember this name. So Barry thinks that when you wear a Chile 82 Adidas Zippy worth about 200 quid, he wants to call me Mr. Slave.
That's brilliant.
Barry DM'd me on Twitter. His emotions must have got the best of him, Phil.
Right, okay.
Barry Lyndon. So I messaged Barry back. And I asked him if he fancied me. And if wee Barry Lyndon wants a piece of the boys. He didn't like that very much. You messaged me, you wanker. I'm like, scroll up. Keep scrolling up. Look, that's you who's messaged me. I've never heard of you, Barry Lyndon. But anyone who can quote clothes that I wore 2 years ago on the Wee Fellas pod, I think means, I think you've got a poster of me on your wall, son. And Barry, it's time you get blocked and all. But thank you for the entertainment. All the best. Best wishes, son. Goodbye. Absolutely
on one tonight, mate. Absolutely. No messing with Bhoycie tonight. Absolutely. All firing on all cylinders here. Just like Neil Lennon was firing on all cylinders in those remaining games. But yeah, we round out the season. We get 8 league wins. We lost that Scottish Cup game. But yeah, Neil Lennon would get the job full time in the summer. We've, of course, covered Neil Lennon's first, second, and third season. Still not done his 4th season, which is a bit of a nothing season. But I'll maybe get round to that at some point. And as for the ballad of Tony Mowbray, what's happened to him since then? So I'll try and sum it up as best I can. Since his time at Celtic, he spent days managing the lower leagues of England, where I'd say he's rebuilt his reputation down there, and he's probably found his level. That is probably it. In the sort, he's a safe hand in the lower leagues of English football. He went to Middlesbrough, Coventry City. He had quite a long tenure at Blackburn Rovers. Obviously, he played for Celtic at a difficult time in the 90s. He's, of course, the one behind the huddle, and we know the reasons behind that. So he's always gave us that as a lasting legacy. Perhaps the Celtic job was just one of those ones that was just too big for the guy. Maybe he was just too nice for it. Overall, I feel there's no really angry, hard feelings from Celtic fans against him. It's just why they think it just didn't work. And it's something that we see in football all the time. A job that's maybe just too big for a manager. And this was probably the case for him. It just wasn't a fit for him. He currently is the Sunderland manager. They sit 9th in the championship table. 3 points behind, or 2 points behind the playoff spots with 3 games to go. So he might find himself back in the Premier League playing that great football that he played with West Brom again. You never know. He might find his way back there this season, but that's where he currently is.
I think from my point of view, we don't envisage like guys like Mowbray in a bad light, because we don't blame them. We blame Celtic. Mm-hmm. Celtic were in a position of affordability to go get managers way beyond Mowbray's level. They failed to do so. Their primary target was Owen Coyle. Whether that's right or wrong is irrelevant, right? You failed to get your primary target. End of. You then overspent to get a replacement that wasn't the guy you even wanted yourself, because you had to get the box ticked quickly. We watched a hash bash, shitey reactionary January window. They brought in bigger names than Ange Postecoglou would ever be afforded from a position of strength. All you need to remember is with this season, that is the epitome to me of Peter Lawwell's era.
As yes. From going from a year before to be like, oh, we couldn't sign anybody, to then doing that when we needed it to get fans on side. You've got to be able to see through that stuff, and that's 100% what was going on there. But I can successfully say we have now navigated our way through the Tony Mowbray 2009-2010 season. Thank Christ, we have made it, boys. We've done it. So that one is now in the books. And we can move on. We'll take it on the chin and we'll move on to another season next week or another topic next week, but it is done. So before we obviously wrap up, we will do the trivia from the start of the show. So I will remind anyone that came in late or during the show what the trivia question was at the start. So Robbie Keane, he was a massive focal point this season. He signed for us in the January window. He's been a bit of a journeyman in his career. He's played for 11 different clubs. You guys,
I've got
name
10.
them all. I know the one that you've not got, and I don't expect you to get it. I think you'll do very well, because when I looked on Wikipedia, I went, no chance. So
I can
Russell,
even send you the photo of it and all written down.
I believe
one
in it.
shot, man.
How many have you got, Liam? We can do a back forward.
Just got them all up here.
Okay,
Let's go.
Just right.
I'll
Okay.
say Wolves.
First one, Leeds.
Wolves and Leeds are correct, yes.
Right.
I'm ticking them off as I go.
Keep going, or do you want to just go back and forward?
Yeah, go on. Go on,
Yeah, keep going.
LA Galaxy.
Yep.
LA Galaxy, yes, indeed.
Coventry City.
Coventry City, another boyhood team.
You see Liverpool?
Yeah, Liverpool.
You said it now. Liverpool, yep.
Celtic.
Obviously, yep.
Yep.
Juventus.
Inter.
Inter, correct. Juventus, no. But you were in the right neck of the woods there. Right neck
If
of
that
the
was
woods.
sudden death, he'd be it.
It would, by the way. I know. So there are 4 more to go.
I've got really interesting ones.
Okay.
I've got Spurs, which is the least interesting.
Tottenham, correct.
Villa.
Yeah, Aston Villa. Yes, he did have a spell there.
I've got West Ham.
West Ham, yes. So you have got those 10. The
So there's
11th
one to go.
Hey, honestly,
I'm going to say Middlesbrough, mate, and I don't care what you say.
It's not Middlesbrough.
Ah, shit.
Nah.
I even put a question mark beside it.
It's,
don't you dare tell us. Don't give me a clue. Don't you dare tell me.
Oh, what clue can I give you that would even get you close to this?
What continent do they play in?
Asia.
Oh,
aye, Guangzhou.
No, not China.
I've not a fucking clue. Let's tell the truth. I don't have a clue.
Yeah, I had no idea that he even played for them.
Go on then.
He played for a team in the Indian Premier League at the end of his career. A team called ATK. That's what they were called. I was like,
oh, he can go fuck himself.
But the other 10, you got the other 10, so fair play. You've got the
He
other
did
10.
that to confuse us, Liam. Do you know what I mean? He was
just
even white to play for them.
A
It was just to do that. This pub
He
question.
fought them as a boy, though. You're right, Liam. It was his boyhood team. Always wanted to play for them. Even though they were only formed in like 2009, we always wanted to play for them. But yeah, when I looked at his Wikipedia entry and I was like, who the fuck is ATK? Turns out they're an Indian Premier League team who are now actually dissolved as well, so they didn't last very long. Must have been paying Robbie Keane's wages.
Cares, mate.
So there you go. But you got the other 10, so well done, because they were the more mainstream.
I thought the Villa one was an extremely good shout.
It was a good shout. Well done. Yes, he did play for Aston Villa on
Villa
loan.
and West Ham.
Yeah,
West
another
Ham.
loan. Yeah. Yes,
That's
indeed.
when he was getting. He must have been about 33 then. West Ham.
So
33. Even when he was 23, he looked 33. He's one.
Joinky, right? Is he not being funny though? Joinky looks like Tommy Robinson, eh? I don't.
Hey,
he does.
He was.
He's like the Kenyan Tommy Robinson.
You know, as he was in Los Angeles, there was a picture taken with People magazine, and I think it was Beckham, and I know somebody else was there, and they had Robbie Keane. Robbie Keane was identified in the pictures, and an unknown fan, and it was Robbie Keane.
Really? So, oh wow!
So it was afterwards at a Galaxy game or something when they're all in their suits and stuff, and it was like, oh, it's like David Beckham talking to Tom Cruise or something, and an unknown fan, and the unknown fan, Robbie Keane.
He's just getting that tattoo at the time in his arm. LAX.
Oh my god!
This has been brilliant tonight, man.
Now, Russell, PMP tomorrow. What time is it on?
I'll be later. It'll be like 6:30, 7 o'clock.
Yeah, 3 o'clock on a Saturday for Celtic, quite a rarity. But yes,
man. But I've got that. I've definitely got Celtic PP TV to watch it.
No worries at all. Right, cool. So we're out of here. Happy to say Tony Mowbray season is now done. Thank Christ for that. Next week, obviously, we've got the Cup semi-final, so it'll be something themed around the Rangers fixture. I'll think of something between now and then. But yes, we'll be back next week on Bustalgia, so you know what to do. So yeah, we're heading off now, folks. Thanks for tuning in. It's been a hell of a night tonight. It's been eventful. But hey, that's what you get on the bus. We'll catch you all later.
Thanks, son.
I mean, you've all that stuff at the start. You know, they won't be playing Tina Turner on the coach on the way home, will they?
Some of his comments about me deliberately trying to cause controversy. Well, I work in the media now. And you've got someone sitting there next to you who's an embarrassment to the media profession. He's an apologist. He's a charlatan. He's a Rangers puppet. He's a cheerleader. That's what he is.